Hello and welcome everyone to the 87th episode of Everyday Eternal, which we just verified by Googling our own podcast on Spotify. We're very proud of our level of professionalism.
We Googled
here.
on Spotify. Yeah, okay. We are technologically capable human beings, I believe.
I wouldn't even be surprised if Googling something was actually part of the German dictionary by now. We add a lot of English words to it over the years.
Okay. So Googling something just means searching something up. Yeah.
Yeah, or tutoring if you're a Magic player.
Ah.
I've actually used that with people, and then I immediately realized that they had no idea what I was talking about. And I was like, yeah, you shouldn't. You're so stupid. Nobody uses tutor for looking for something.
I make so many things in real life into Magic phrasing, though. Like, I don't know, sometimes if I don't have enough food, I think, oh, I'm a bit mana screwed or food screwed or whatever. It gets in your head, man. It's terrible, but it's funny as well. And you catch yourself out and you're like, what the F am I talking about?
That doesn't happen to you that often that you don't have enough food.
No, not
I
often.
mean, I'm laughing about that now, but
Yeah,
there's people who are actually experiencing that, so maybe I shouldn't be
No,
laughing.
but there's I don't not the best example, but like there's other things where something in Magic, happens. Where when you have like too much beer, it means you have too many cards in hand. You have to discard the hand size because you can't drink all. Anyway, we are on episode 87, as we confirmed by looking on Spotify just now.
And before we go into the show, by the way, this time I really want to thank our 2 new Patreons. We've had so many new Patreons over the last couple of weeks and months. This time, Francis J. Setash, I really hope I didn't butcher your nickname. I've actually gotten messages from other Patreons who corrected me on their pronunciation of the name. So if you ever spot me mispronouncing your name, hit me up on Discord, Twitter, anywhere, and I'll correct that. And the second one, Testacular, a very well-known Elves player who also streams a lot of Valorant. I was on a stream when he, I think, top 2'd or even won a challenge. Like he went really deep into a challenge. And then we talked a little bit about Valorant. Are there actually other online games that you play?
Not really. It's weird. I'm not a gamer, really. I've basically never played online games. And Magic is just a kind of a fluke. I got into it when I was camping, when I was like 10 years old, from some boys that were also at the camping place. So yeah, I don't really play that many other games. I've just got hopelessly addicted to this one.
Yeah, you've never recovered?
Yeah, never. I did take a break for like 5 or 6 years when I discovered music and going out and partying and stuff. And so now I try and do it all. But yeah, not as cool. But you play a lot of games, don't you?
Well, this is probably like an episode of its own, but
yeah.
I even have a thing on my website which is down right now, but should be up in a couple of days again, or like tomorrow, about my competitive history. Like I actually started out when it comes to like competitive online gaming as somebody like playing StarCraft and Quake, and actually a lot of Quake. And I was like in a clan, we said back then, not like a team. And before we said team, we even called it like a squad and everything. But yeah, that's that. And then I was hopelessly deep into Counter-Strike for, I want to say, between 2000 and 2004, when I basically quit it almost cold turkey, like in the middle of a tournament. That was actually, dudes.
We could do a other games podcast sometime. Counter-Strike is the one that I've heard loads of people talk about all the time. Like, I think everyone that plays any kind of online games, especially shooting ones, they played Counter-Strike back in the day, right? That's what I've heard.
Counter-Strike and Quake, that was like the big, how do you say that, schism? Like,
I know what you mean.
Story of my life. No, and yeah, I was kind of like in a weird position that I played both, but Counter-Strike, that was really something, that was probably like the most troublesome time in my life, privately, and I think I just like was able to zoom out and exchange a lot of issues I had in life with like just playing Counter-Strike online with my friends, and that was like a really big thing. And I guess as life got better, Counter-Strike got less important.
That's cool.
Yeah, but it was still like an experience I really wouldn't want to miss. I've played with basically the same people online for 4 years, even though they lived on the other end of Germany, most of them. And like a couple of years ago, I attended one of their weddings, and I saw another guy again. It's like I've kept in close contact with at least one of those guys, and that's really, that's honestly, that's like one of the best friendships of my life. And
did you meet them all through playing games?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
I submitted an application to the clan, and like I listed my favorite burger, my favorite color, like all kinds of useless stuff that doesn't matter at all, and then I was accepted into, what was the first clan called? Soldiers of the Future. It's like,
you better remember, or I'm telling them. They'll never play with you again.
Yeah. Anyways, so that's how I got into Magic, which is nothing. No, into Counter-Strike. What have you been up to lately, man? You played in the Eternal Weekend, right?
So we'll dive into Eternal Weekend heavily in a minute. because that's our main topic for this episode. Because we did another episode like within the last week. So since then, the only interesting thing I've done is play Eternal Weekend. I'll give a quick rundown because it's very, very short and not very sweet. I played Entombsday, which we'll touch on as well because we can talk about that later. It's the like Tin Fin's main deck and Doomsday sideboard thing. I didn't have time to practice with too many other decks. I played a couple of leagues with other things, and then I know Tin Fin's pretty well from the past, and Doomsday I'm not very good at, but I was like, yeah, what's the worst that could happen? Spoiler, bad things do happen. And I started off like 2-0, then 3-0 or 3-1 and then stuff, and then I made a couple of mistakes, and I think a good player can play this deck to like a pretty good finish. It's really powerful, doing powerful things, and I just made some mistakes. So I ended 4-3 and then dropped because I wanted to watch all the streams. I've got 2 monitors, and in each monitor I had multiple streams going in each one as well. I was just following everything. It was awesome.
That's actually kind of crazy. Like, to me, I've been trying to watch the streams, but also doing a lot of work for coverage. Like, as most of you probably know, Wizards are cooperating with Anorak and me to basically bring you after the fact coverage of Eternal Weekend. So we are right now working on a lot of videos. As we speak right now, Anorak is recording commentary with 2 of our guest commentators. And all of that, I would expect, like, it's eventually up to Wizards, but I would expect it to be out next week, like early next week. And then you will actually be able to watch 4 matches per tournament. So altogether like 12 legacy matches with expert commentary and me. For some at least.
You've asked me as well, so it's not all expert, you know. We're on the same level here.
Yeah, but we decided to up our standards after I asked you.
Nice, okay. That makes sense.
This weekend, and it still feels like the weekend because I've basically been swamped with work for that. I felt like I could use something like, 7 screens. I don't even know if my computer would support that, but I basically need to live in a room that's entirely made of computer screens, like in those bad hacker movies from the 90s where they go, hack this one, hack that one. No, this is it.
Too much hacking.
Yeah. Like the last 3-4 hours have actually been my first actual really proper free time ever since, I want to say, Friday, Saturday. Like I said in our Discord that after all of this is over, I felt like I gotta take like some days off. But then I realized I'm already doing this on my days off. This is my free time anyway.
It seems so busy because we were planning to record the last 2 days, but you were just completely overrun with it. Was it more work than you expected, but it's going to be worth it kind of thing?
Let's say there were some structural issues. Like,
okay. Yeah. We'll find out down the line.
Yeah, we so what we're actually doing, which is great, I think, we are including hands for 1 player for every single match, which initially was not on the table. Like, the initial concept that we were supposed to do is commentary over replays without hands from any player. But we figured, okay, we really want to provide some better quality than that. You can do that, and that's like how people used to do it. I remember it like 10 years ago, with like Rashad Miller at GG's Live and like the early SEGs, they did that where you couldn't see the hands because that's just like the gameplay. And you can do that, but if you put in the extra work, you can also do it with like everybody in the community. And by the way, at this point, I really, really, really want to thank everybody who's been recording hands with me. I think I recorded, it must be 12 or something, hands with people over Discord from all over the world, whether it's like Brazil, Asia, Europe, the US, Canada, everywhere. Seriously.
That's amazing. So cool.
Yeah. And now we've put it all together and we're commentating on it. And so expect it early next week. And that's going to be something.
I think this is my like preferred setup, honestly. I think I'd even prefer no hands to both hands. Something with both hands doesn't click with me because you feel like it's like just subconsciously you have both players' hands in your head, and then you like think, oh my god, why are they making this play? And then you tell yourself, oh, it's because they don't know they have that in their hand. But you need to like tell yourself these things. When you have no hands, you're way more invested in the game you're watching. You're like, trying to work out what both players have. But with one, it's amazing because you're trying to, you can look at one if you want the easy watching side, I guess is one way to put it. Or you can try and like guess what the other player's doing based on what could be in their hand. And you're also like in the seat of the player we're watching because you know your hand, but you're trying to work out what the opponent has. So I'm really, really excited to see it like this. This is my favorite.
Yeah. I'm really excited that we made that decision, even though it meant to be basically a lot more work. But it's definitely going to be worth it. And then next week we're going to do the same for Vintage again, even though I think we're just going to do 3 matches per main event. Which main event did you play, by the way?
I played the first one, which was Karkas, I believe. Yeah.
The battle for the capital of Venezuela.
Yeah. Was it? Which day did it start? That started on Friday.
Yeah, it started on Friday. Vintage is going to start on Saturday.
Yeah, okay.
They're actually going to have two Vintage on the same day and then another Vintage on the next day. I wonder whether that's going to have any kind of influence on participants, because even for the first 2 Legacy events, there was some overlap. Like if you made top 8, like JPA, then you couldn't really reasonably play the second one. He was actually quite sad about that, because he lost in the quarterfinals to probably the best Legacy player on the entire planet right now, Daniel Götzschel Ducat, also known as the guy who won GP in Niagara Falls, co-host on Elo Panthers.
He's alright, I guess. Yeah,
he's alright.
He just wins everything, you know. Yeah. I was trying to egg him on to do one of his classic Reddit posts after this, but I think he'll save it for the podcast.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, but regarding the crossover, I don't think they were planned to be for everyone to play them all. That is playing for potentially almost 20 hours straight if you play both of those ones in a row. And then if you play the third one, that's crazy. I mean, I guess JPA does really like playing Legacy, but that is a lot of Legacy in a row.
Yeah. Especially if you top 8 so many of them. But but the payout was quite top heavy if you think about it, right? So if you go in the quarterfinals, you win something, but if you go to the finals, so maybe let's quickly talk about what you can actually win, because I think the general structure was somewhat like a better challenge with regards to prizes. But then if you get first place, you actually get this original actual painting. So it's not like an oversized card. You actually, in the past at the paper events, you also got oversized cards on top, but here you, for all I know, you only get the painting, but the painting is the big deal.
Yeah.
And if you opt to sell those paintings, in the past they would usually fetch something around close to $10,000. And from what I hear, a lot of people actually didn't know that, even the ones who won.
Yeah, well, I think they still do. So it's a huge prize. I don't know, for this tournament, it feels, I mean, it's a great celebration of what Legacy is and stuff. I wish the prizes were a bit better, or Magic Online introduced scaling prizes a bit more. Maybe this is another topic as well properly, but the prizes really were win or get to the final and split with the opponent, as one set of finalists did. Otherwise, even coming second, it's, I guess, a few $100 worth. But yeah, the painting is around 10K. I know the second flight for the Rishadan port one, someone offered a 5-figure sum. He just said
true.
5-figure sum, and then maybe more. So people really want these things.
Yeah, they're such a big part of Magic history. I was actually looking at them on Magic Libraries or whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
There's a website that has all of the previous winners that we're going to link in the show notes, so you can actually see all the winners and
cool.
the cards that they won. That's really cool. And I actually didn't know that, especially for Vintage, it actually goes back all the way to 2003. I think it was called GenCon Championships and eventually evolved into Eternal Weekend in 2011 when they introduced Legacy as well.
Oh, I didn't know it was that.
Cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Shall we jump into? So yeah,
sure.
As to finish off there. So yeah, huge amount of money to be won for first place. Dropped off pretty steeply, but these paintings are very prestigious, and people will remember your name when you win one as well. It's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, you're in history books forever.
Yeah.
And so, not like us mere mortals who could barely make top 8. I think we made top 8 in the same year, right?
We did in 2017 because it got posted in a chat recently.
That's true.
Yeah. So as we said, we had 3 flights. The first one was winning the Karkas painting. The second one was winning the Rishadan port painting, and the third one was winning a Mazavith painting. So our plan now is we're going to go over the top 16s and each deck, and give it a rundown. And then after we've done that, we'll talk about each one as we go along as well. And at the end of that, we'll do a bigger picture. We'll take a step back and think of which decks did the best, which decks underperformed, any things we can infer from that. Fair decks doing well, combo decks doing well, all this kind of good stuff.
Yeah, so we basically were able to get the data for everybody who finished 8-2 and better and combined them into a single meta game just to see which decks were the surprise standouts or whether any deck disappointed. Yeah. So that's what we're going to do in the second half of the show. There's
some great stuff to glean from it as well. So yeah, jumping straight in, we are going to go to technically first place, but we'll talk to them about them together. So this is the first Karkas event. The finalists split a painting. So we can make all these kind of jokes about how do they split the painting. Do you get the bottom half? Do you get the top half, left or right?
Isn't that like this biblical story of King Solomon or something who was going to like split the baby? Is that how it works here?
I don't remember that one. But you're probably right. If you had a painting, would you prefer to have top, bottom, left or right part?
I think I would prefer to have top. I don't know why, but I think that's more iconic because you get more of the artwork.
Okay, cool. So anyway, first place we had Green PM33, who is Patrick Green, who actually won Eternal Weekend in the US in 2018. He was playing Miracles then, and this time he was playing 4-color Snow. So they're continuating, like, I guess, Premier Control deck of the format. It was pretty stock. So 4-color, no red. And he had a sideboard Felidar Retreat, which is a card we've talked about recently a bit. The funny hallucinogenic-ish art with like cats and stuff.
I might have heard about that card.
Yeah, maybe. But moving quickly onwards. Not that I have any personal attachments to it. Pretty standard. Snow was. We'll get to the whole breakdown later, as we mentioned. But Snow really performed this weekend. It put players into the top 8s of each event, I believe, multiples, and like a lot of good 8-2 finishes as well. So not surprising to see it win. Second place we had Daniel Gulderkat, as we just mentioned before. He was playing Rug Delver. He had 2 main deck Urus, which is pretty unusual. Like I've seen it a couple of times from other players before, and it never really caught on. So I don't know. I guess it is a trump for the mirror. Do you think?
Yeah. It also works really well with Seven Library, and but actually when I recorded with Daniel, he mentioned several times how much he actually really likes Seven Library, and the life gain is really a thing that helps with that. Also, it's crazy how grindy those Rug Delver decks have become. If you guys are gonna watch the quarterfinals between JPA and Daniel, which, like I said, is gonna come out next week on the Wizards website. Spoiler alert, I think both players combined cast Uro close to, I want to say, 12 or 13 times in a single game. And it comes down, like it almost comes down to decking, and Daniel goes down to like 12 minutes in the first game. Can you imagine that? Like Daniel he's not exactly known to be the fastest player.
No. But I can see the match just going on that long. But my next point was going to be that these Euros just really cements that Rug Delver is a mid-range deck. There's just nothing tempo or aggro about it anymore, really, apart from the Delvers against combo, I guess. But yeah, it's a mid-range deck with Euros and Sylvan Libraries and everything. Yeah,
pretty much, right?
Yeah. So third place, we have Hey Cutie, who is Tariq Patel. People will know him as putting Bug Hogak on the map, when he top-8'd an SCG, then a Legacy GP back-to-back weekends. There's nothing outstanding about the list because he basically made the list originally, so he's just thought it's great. I'm going to carry on with it being great, so we've all taken it as stock.
Is the OG Hogak?
Yeah, I mean, people were playing it before. I was playing like black-red versions as well and stuff. People were testing it out, but he, I believe, was the first one to add Hedron Crab to this version, which I now swear is the best card in the deck, so it's obviously very smart.
It's easily the card I fear the most. It's by far the card I fear the most of the deck. It allows for so many explosive, crazy starts.
Totally. It's even weirdly like the best card against hate, against like Leyline the Void, because it's the card that catches you up after you've spent resources to kill stuff. So it's just the best, and it's a crab. So yeah. Fourth place, we have the other kind of breakout deck of the weekend. We'll again get into a bit more after we've gone through all the lists, but Death and Taxes is back. What do you think of that?
Honestly, I'm super excited because, I mean, we were already somewhat teasing that Death and Taxes might not be as bad as basically everybody has been saying, including us, for the entire year. And, I mean, we go about why it has recovered. But to me, the kind of Magic Death and Taxes plays is by far the most enjoyable, awesome. Like, I like it when Death and Taxes is basically the baseline for the format. It's like, this is what we do. And then we can adjust. Like, then we can play combo, then we can play this. But this is always going to be decent. And when that's the case, I think the format is in a good place.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it is a kind of fairly common saying. People say, if D&T is good, then the format is in a healthy place. Which, I don't know if I swear by or anything, but it's a nice parameter to set. Because D&T is, at the end of the day, playing pretty fair Magic. So, yeah, very cool to see that. Fifth place, we had JPA, as we were talking about before. He was on 5-color Snow. No standouts to me. It was your stock removal, cantrips, Okos, Uros, and everything. 6th place, we have another snow deck from Matthew B3. This time 5 color. So when we say, unless we explicitly say 4 color is probably going to be without Pyroblast, and then 5 color will be with Pyroblast in the sideboard.
Yeah, that's how I would consider it as well.
Yeah. So standouts here, 3 Dead of Winter. So, I mean, 2 is pretty stock. Sometimes people play 1. But this signals to me that Death and Taxes and Elves are on their radar. So
Look at this. 3 Dead of Winter in the main, and 2 Playing Engineer in the sideboard. Come on, man.
Yeah, I mean...
and 2 Containment Priest. Oh my god.
Your head is always on Elves, isn't it?
Of course. But
to me, this seems very, tuned in. Elves is very good right now, and Death and Taxes was starting to do well in leagues, so nice call. And there's a sideboard Hercule's Recall, which I've never seen before in this deck.
Okay, what is this actually doing for him? I'm actually trying to figure it out.
Yeah, same. I'm not quite sure. Maybe they expected Moonstompy or...
But even then Moonstompy, it only bounces... doesn't even bounce all that much that you really care about. And you have 3 Abrupt Decays in the main. Oh, you know what it does? Target yourself.
Bounce 3 or 4 Astrolabes.
And you bounce your food and Astrolabe. Oh, as a card advantage engine?
I don't know.
But engine is probably you know what's actually hilarious what you can do with Hercules Recall? If you're up against a Karn deck and they go for Murkison Lattice and you float 2 blue and then the Lattice comes down and then you bounce their entire board.
Boom. I mean,
I want this to be the case.
I'm struggling to see it, honestly, but yeah. I mean, I've never seen it before, so interesting. 7th place, we have another deck we haven't seen for a while. Is Eldrazi Aggro, played by Blade 400. I guess Uro and Oko just feels like they've just made this deck dead for a while. This deck has main deck Karn, the Great Creators as well, which I haven't seen really before in Eldrazi Stompy, which is just a great card, isn't it? So I guess when you're playing Soul Lands, I don't know, it makes me wonder why people didn't play it more before. It's not great versus Delver, I guess is a good reason.
It's interesting. You know what I find interesting here? I kind of like that this is just another of those 4-drops that's really good. What's a bit weird is it doesn't really work with Eye of Ugin, right? Does it?
No.
I'm opening Eye here. No, it doesn't. Eye of Ugin doesn't do anything for it.
No.
So it's not. I was wondering whether it's another Thought Knot Seer, in openings where you have 4 mana on the second turn, but
not really,
you don't have 4 mana for Karn all that often because Eldrazi Temple Ocean doesn't really work for it.
Yeah, so you just have 6 Soul Lands to put it out. So yeah, I'm a bit skeptical of this in a Delver heavy metagame, but with a lot of snow or Death and Taxes or artifact based decks, it's insane against other combo decks as well. So
it's interesting that they have a 1 of Grim Monolith in the sideboard. You know what I think that is? That kind of feels like the thing when those decks in the past, they used to basically Karn for LED and then on the next turn get Lattice.
I think that's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they don't want to discard their hand, which no one really wants to discard their hand.
Well, I know some Dredge people who would pay a lot of mana for that.
Oh, Karn and Dredge. No, okay. Moving.
You remember when we played Karn and Oko and basically every deck in Legacy?
Yeah, I mean Oko's in Dredge
just for
now.
fun and was good.
Yeah.
Oko Dredge.
Cool. 8th place, we have another D&T list. Again, looks pretty stock. I feel like we should give credit to XJ Cloud, who put up a really big cyborg guide and a list basically before Eternal Weekend saying, if you want to play Eternal Weekend, this is the list I recommend. Here's how I sideboard, blah, blah. Great resource for anyone who's playing the deck. And I went through every single D&T list that placed in the top 16s, and they all kind of look stock to me. And that's because I think a big part he put this out, and it kind of solidified what a stock D&T list is. So although we're saying nothing stands out, it's still exciting to see the deck do well. The main change from, I guess, recent D&T lists is the adaptation of Spirit of the Labyrinth. They all have 2, some have 3 in. And this is just amazing against Elves doing well again. This card just gives you real game against Elves, which is historically maybe the most lopsided matchup in the whole format. Probably. Then it's also amazing against Snow, turning off Astrolabes, Uro, Icefang Quattles when they main phase them and stuff. It's just, there's a lot of cards that are drawing cards, so Spirit makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I like it quite a lot. I know that several of the people who either top-aided or even won credited XJ as the source of their deck list and their sideboard guide and everything. And I think he even played 3 Spirit of the Labyrinth in his Eternal Weekend.
Did he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he upgraded. He also played 2 Armageddons in the sideboard as another way to fight snow, which is something I've tried in AFs before. And I think it's the general idea that you play some kind of hate piece that like cannot eventually be removed, and then its effect is over. But Armageddon is permanent. Armageddon is here to stay. I don't know if it's here to stay as a card, but the effect is permanent.
I was watching a stream, and he said they didn't do very much so far.
Oh, okay.
But he still liked it in theory, so I think people need to play with it more to see how it goes. They basically said leaving snow with 1 land is bad, and if they have no lands, Oko doesn't really do that much because you can attack it down, because you're just going to have a bigger board than them. So
yeah.
Okay, so that's our top 8 for the first one. So we'll go into the top 16 now. It's really important to think, because these were such big events and there were so many players, the difference between top 16 and top 8 is very, very minimal. So it really came down to breakers. So anyone in the top 16 is mostly going to have the same record as the bottom people getting to top 8. So when we're looking at the whole picture, it's really important to think of all these as like great results as well. So 9th place, we have Mr. Dr. Prof. Patrick. That's quite a name. Playing Rug Delver. Pretty stock Rug Delver. We'll probably see a lot of this. 10th place, we have Victor 2 with a new take on Euro and Strifopile. I put like quotes because Strifopile, but it's quite different colors as well. It's like blue, red, white based. And this maniac is playing 3 Nahiri Harbinger and an Emrakul the Aeon's Torn. I had to do like a double take when I was going through the list. I was like, okay, Rug Delver, nothing too interesting. D&T, this, that. What on earth am I looking at here? 10th place in this 400 and almost 500 person event. Holy shit! What do you think of this?
Okay, this is absolute madness. This is basically Legacy Super Friends. This guy has 11. This guy has more Planeswalker than creatures. It's like
that is 11 Planeswalkers. So Victor has 4 Dark Fadens. Chase will be happy about that. 1 Jace the Mind Sculptor, so 3 Nahiris, 1 Narset, and 2 Teferi Time Revelers.
You know, maybe he's trying to tell some story. Maybe this is like a flavor deck. It's like, oh, we have like Deck Faden walk into a bar and there's his friend Chase, and they try to hit on Nahiri, but Nahiri is angry and she brings her Paul Emrakul. I don't know. I mean, people build decks like that, but not usually on Legacy.
Not for Eternal Weekend. Otherwise, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool idea. Like, if you're expecting loads of snow, and Nahiri does exile creatures, so it can exile Uro if it's attacked. They have 4 Punishing Fire with 4 Groves in this deck as well, so using Nahiri and Dak Fane to discard and loot and stuff and churn through your deck, find the cards you need. Nahiri can also discard your own Uros to then cast from the graveyard. I kind of like it. It doesn't get Abrupt Decayed, it doesn't get Pyroblasted. It's pretty cool.
Is there anything else you can do with Nahiri other than get Emrakul? I guess you can put, you can put Astrolabe into play. Hey.
Yeah, true. Or you can Uro. Or Snap
Custom. I just noticed it's also a Yorion deck. Oh, that's why there are so many Planeswalkers. Okay, now it makes a lot more sense. Yeah, okay. So if you're playing an 80 card deck, then okay.
It's still quite a lot.
That's true.
What's interesting is they are playing green for Uro and Icefang, but there's no Okos.
Yeah, Oko not good enough. Nahiri, new tier 1.
Yeah, I heard it here. Cool. So that's our first like really crazy out there deck, which is pretty sweet. It is, like as I said, mostly blue, white, red, just splashing green for Icefang and Uro as far as I can see. Yeah. Oh, and Carpet Flowers on the sideboard.
It's actually kind of crazy that the only mass removal spell in the entire 80 is like a single engineered explosives.
There's a Verdict in the sideboard as well, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, in the main.
I guess Punishing Fire is kind of like a mass removal spell if you got enough time.
And yeah. And then Uro just kind of gets boards under control. Okay, moving on. We have 11th place. We have Slasher 21. So this is another 5-color snow deck. So 4-color splashing Pyroblast basically. But it has a very, very, very interesting card in the sideboard, which again took me by surprise. As Garruk Primal Hunter. So Julian, without looking this up, can you tell me which one this is?
Yeah, it's the 5 mana one. It has triple green in the mana cost. I can't tell you the starting loyalty, but I know that it ticks up to make beasts.
Yeah.
It doesn't tick down because the other ones, they usually tick down to make beasts. This one is more powerful. And I'm pretty sure you can... What do we have an effect for that name? Like when you draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you have? That's what it does in -1.
Yeah, -3.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a card that does it. I can't remember its name.
Maybe we should have said, like we have threaten effects and stuff, and everybody knows what that is. That's like maybe it's the Primal Hunter effect, but no.
What is the card?
And
it's from like Eventide or something. I can't remember though.
Yeah. And the ultimate is probably one of my favorite ultimates in the game because you once again, I don't know what the minus is. It's probably like -5 or 6, depending on like what it starts at. And
6.
it makes 6. Okay, it makes a worm for each land that you control, and I think that's just like so cool because there's nothing to do with what Garruk is about. It's just like there be worms.
Here's a fucking load of worms. Deal with it. So yeah,
you know why I know all of this?
Go on.
A friend of mine has Lord of the Ring altars on basically almost all of his cards, at least all of the big ones. And he has Legolas altered on Garruk Primal Hunter, which to me makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, that one. Shouldn't that be...
My favorite part in Lord of the Rings is like when Legolas summons the worms and everything. It's like, yeah, that's the one. It's like, what?
Yeah. I would have guessed Boromir or Aragorn is Garruk. Probably Boromir.
Yeah, that would be much more spot on.
So yeah, Garruk in Snow. Otherwise, it had 2 ground seals on the sideboard as well, which is not usual. But other than that, standard. And then there's just a Garruk there, which is sweet. I guess it's going off the same idea as Nahiri, where it can't be abrupt decayed and can't be pyroblasted, and it's like a 1-up, like 3/3s trade with Oko 3/3s and stuff. And
I think if there's like this race to the top that's going on in Legacy where everybody's trying to one-up each other, then that's the natural progression, right? That now we start putting like 5 mana planeswalkers into a sideboard. Maybe we're soon going to have them in the main deck. And I think that's kind of cool because then you get decks like Death and Taxes that take advantage of you being so greedy.
Oh, yeah.
And so natural progression. What do you think about the ground seals? You already mentioned them. What's the general idea? What are we doing with the ground seals?
I think they're for oops or spells, I guess.
I think they have another great use. I think you want them against Straddled Arcanist, right?
Sure, yeah. So yeah, and it stops like Delver from surgicaling your Urus as well. Yeah, seems nice. So I guess you bring them in against Delver. Yeah, because it just cantrips as well, so it's not a huge cost to just play it out. Yeah, nice. I like it. Okay, in 12th place we have Poob Master, great name, playing Rug Delver. Nothing stood out to me here. 13th place we had Diego Nunez on 4-color control, Snow. Standouts. Do you want to take this away?
Maybe actually we want to mention what's standard about this deck, because this deck is wild. Like the first thing that jumps to mind is Retrofitter Foundry. That's a card that we have really only seen in the Ninjas deck, right? That's the one where you sacrifice a top die, you get a 4/4 colors construct creature token. Okay, let's actually go about everything that it does, because not everybody might be familiar with it. It's a 1-mana artifact, 3 mana untap Retrofitter Foundry, 2 mana untap, create a 1/1 colorless Sorrow artifact creature token, 1 mana untap, sacrifice a Sorrow, so for example the one you just create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying, and then like I said, for free you can just like tap it and sacrifice a Thopter, and then you get a 4/4 colorless construct artifact creature token. Okay, I'm not exactly sure what's going on with this. Actually, I'm looking at any kind of synergies.
I don't see any synergies. It's just a really good mana sink. Again, for mirrors. I don't like that it gets OHKO'd if it becomes a real threat, but it can pump out. So it's basically a 1-mana thing, and then for 5 mana you can make a 1/1. Then you can make them bigger or fly and stuff. Yeah, I'm skeptical because it doesn't really race OHKO. I mean, you could block OHKO forever, but they keep drawing cards. And then it kind of, as I said, gets OHKO'd if it's a threat. If it doesn't, OHKO starts attacking you. But hey, they place well, so it's kind of cool.
So let's say you get into a late game. You have 5 mana. You tap it for 2. You create the colorless Sorrow. Then you untap it. Okay, let's say you have 6 mana. That's not too crazy. So for 6 mana, you can basically create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature with flying.
No, it's 9 mana because you need to untap it again. You need to
you untap.
You need to pay 2 to make it a 1/1, 3 to untap it, and then you need to pay 3 again to untap it, and then 1 to make a 1/1 flying.
Man, I'm missing something. So it comes into play,
Yeah.
and then you pay 2.
Yeah. You make a 1/1.
Then you untap it.
That's 5 mana spent. Oh, yeah, no, I'm going crazy. Nope, yeah, I'm going crazy. Cool. Yes, you need to untap it once.
I mean, it would be 3 more if you also want to make it like the 4/4 color thing.
Yeah.
That would be it. I want to see something else in it, but I can't. First off, I thought maybe it like sacrifices an artifact so you can eventually cycle your astrolabes, but it does. Actually, what if you turn your no, they become Elks. There's no man. I want to figure this out so badly, but I think it's like you said, it's just an endgame mana sink.
Yeah, so I'm surprised to see 3. I kind of like the idea of 1 or 2.
Do you really?
Well, it's cool.
I don't want to trash talk this. Apparently, like this person did really well with it.
Yeah, they did well, very well. I guess they went 8-2. And the card was like way better in ninjas than everyone gave it credit for, including myself. And so I know that there's like a lot of synergy in ninjas where you can like sack ornithopters and changing outcasts and stuff. But I don't know, it might surprise us. I'd like to see it in action. I might try and give it like a try for 1 or 2 of them. The thing is, these decks have so many cards, like late game great engines they have access to, like Shark Typhoon as well as another card that's not in this list, but again, a great mana sink. So yeah, skeptical but cool is my verdict. They also had a main deck Felidar Retreat, which I guess kind of works with Retrofitter Foundry actually, because you make all the tokens, and then you landfall, you put tokens on them, counters on them.
Maybe that's the way to go.
That's the way to go. So we've got the new meta game, Retrofitter Foundry.
Honestly, that's actually not that bad.
No, it's not.
If I think about it,
they'll get out of control pretty fast. Cool. So also worth noting, I said it was 4-color control like Snow, but this is no black. So this is slightly different to the other 4-color control decks we mentioned. 14th place, we have Ramp on Rug Delver again. This is Jacob Nagro, if anyone knows him. Great player and brewer. Mostly modern usually, but pretty cool to see him playing Legacy. Nothing stood out to me. Unfortunately, this is like the same thing for all the Rug Delver decks. They've solidified themselves. They play some threats, they play some counter magic, and they play some cantrips and some lands.
I mean, that's the tradition of Rug Delver or Canadian Threshold. Do you remember when the list was basically set in stone? I don't know if you played back then, but there was a list between like 2005, 6-ish, and then especially in 2007 when Dillian Click came out, the list was super stock. Like everything was stock, including the main deck, 1 Rushing River and 1 Vendilion Click.
This is when like 4 Spell Snare was stock.
Yeah, exactly. 4 Spell Snare for sure. Yeah. And ever since, I kind of want Rushing River to return to tempo decks, but I guess we would need like proper Delver tempo decks to return in the first place, because like you mentioned, Rug Delver at this point is really like a mid-range deck.
It is, and the tempo card to play now is Brazen Borrower, probably.
True.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that would definitely be it.
Yeah.
Oh, Rushing River is so cool though.
It is. It was played in Omnitel for a while still, at least, but not the same idea. 15th place, we have Karate Dom. I think that's how you pronounce it. Playing Rug Delver as well. Again, pretty stock Rug Delver. And 16th place, one of my favorite decks, Utlis 26, who is Jack Kitchen, who's playing Painter, Imperial not Shortcake, just Imperial Painter, so no white. It's got your standard stuff. It's got Khans, and it has 4 main deck Painters as you usually do, and then 3 main deck Grindstones, 1 on the sideboard. But what stood out to me here was, you're going to like this, 4 Lightning Bolt. This is just completely respecting Dreadwood Arcanist. Like Lightning Bolt's often a sideboard card for Painter, but I haven't seen 4 main deck in a long time or ever.
I like it a lot.
Yeah,
and we're actually gonna see him featured in the content that's gonna come out on Wizards' website, because there's one match that he's playing. It's really, really good. I think it's against XJ Cloud. I don't exactly remember. Yeah. It is, yeah.
And that was
one of the best matches of the tournament. And I can confirm that Lightning Bolt is really good. At least in this matchup, like it did a lot of work. So definitely look forward to that.
This is my request. I was like just dying to see, because he is so insanely good at this deck. He's been playing it for forever, like since back in the day. If you go into the source, you'll see him in like the very early threads of Painter and stuff, and he's put so much work into it. And so I'm just so excited to watch this match. One of the most intricate matchups in Legacy, probably, from 2 of the best players, probably the best players of the deck, I would say. So yeah,
I've seen him in Magic Online like for many years playing either Moonstompy or Painter. That I think those are his 2 big things.
Painter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen him play Stompy, but yeah, Dredge is the other thing.
You know, sometimes when they just like when they Magus of the Moon you and you never return, you don't even notice like what they actually played.
Well, yeah, he does play 4 main deck Blood Moons stuff, so maybe he
Oh yeah, he still plays the Blood Moons. Okay. Yeah. But no Magus of the Moons. Yeah, because we talked about that in a recording that I think he mentioned that he doesn't feel that they're that good anymore. But they're still.
There's one in the sideboard.
Honestly,
too.
I almost want to say I thought you played Magus of the Moon and not Blood Moon. I almost wonder whether there's a mistake on the website, but maybe I'm just misremembering. I think it's much more likely that I'm misremembering it.
He has a Magus in the sideboard to like Imperial Creature
maybe
4.
that's why I saw it, because I was pretty sure I saw it in one of the matches.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
Because I can like watch every match, because that's the beauty of the MTG or admin accounts. Oh, dude, I'm only watching the tournament weekend matches because that's the only thing we're allowed to watch, but it feels amazing if you're actually allowed to pick any match in the entire tournament. There were like 5,000 to 6,000 matches played over the weekend.
Yeah.
I think. And just being able to spectate anything, that's really cool. I mean, Wizards going to take away those powers again, and probably for the better, but
just keep
it felt cool.
Hide them. Keep them safe. Cool. All right, so yeah, that was our first event. Pretty cool. Like, we saw a few Delvers and Snows and stuff, but pretty rounded. This was where 2 D&T top 8'd, so Twitter and Reddit loved it. Like, the deck is back. And we went into Flight 2 Rishadan Port. So I think everyone kind of thought this was the best painting to win. So pretty cool to see that Death and Taxes won this one. I mean, I love that Death and Taxes won the Rishadan Port painting. It's so much justice.
Perfect.
It
right?
feels perfect. So first place we had Tunduslav. I hope I said that right. Again, it nothing stood out because it is. I think they credited XJ saying. I remember seeing that anyway. Crediting XJ saying this is his list. So.
Yeah, I think everybody, like this weekend, everybody credited XJ is like, dude, I had such a great meal. I had such a great time in the park. Thank you so much, XJ. Like, he made everything happen.
Yeah. Number 2, we had Baku 92. It was on Pokepile. So
91.
By 91. I'm going crazy.
Some respect to our elders.
My bad. They were in second place, that's why. I promise that's it.
No respect for runner-up.
I'm sorry. So Pokeball is the first time we've seen the deck in a little bit of a time, right? Well, at least the first big placing that I've noticed. The deck still feels good. So anyone that's not aware of what Pokeball is, there's a player called Jeff White who goes by Pokemoki online, and he created this new idea of Stifle being not just a tempo card, but a way to pull ahead on mana, and mana is so important these days to play threats that just pull you further ahead while your opponent kind of scrambles under their lack of mana. So there's 1 Narset, 3 Okos, which sounds like pretty what they're doing before. It's using Dredge Darkness as well, again, as this like extra threat to just like, as they're suffering under these stifles and dazes, these old tempo aspects, rather than attacking their life total, they're attacking on like a resource battle and just pulling further ahead every time someone like tries to play around a daze or a spell pierce or a stifle and stuff. If the opponent's playing slowly, you're going to capitalize on that by just slamming your threats and just being ahead on board. Is the general idea behind this. So pretty cool to see it come second.
Yeah, and a lot of matchups also you can just like trade your stifles for anything that would otherwise be +1 card advantage. So, you're still trading them off in one way or the other. So they're barely ever going to be dead in the current Legacy metagame. Yeah.
And end of the day, you can still pitch to force. And in a deck with so much card advantage, you can also afford to have some cards that are not great. But I think Stifle just has so many targets these days as well, so...
Yeah. If you want to learn more about the deck, I think a couple episodes ago we actually had Chef on where he basically introduces us to the deck and explains the entire theory behind running kind of like a Rock Delver shell without Delver, and I think it makes a lot of sense, and I'm actually super happy to see this deck go really deep into the tournament.
Actually, another bit to cut out, Julian. We didn't have him on, but we did talk about it.
Oh.
Yeah, we almost did. He was on another episode.
He was another episode. Okay,
yeah.
I'm actually not going to cut that.
Okay. He was on another episode before he made this deck. But then we did a whole episode on the deck. But,
maybe we gave him the inspiration.
Maybe.
Yeah,
or maybe.
I'm pretty sure we planted the seed.
Yeah, totally.
We probably talked about something completely different, but I mean, that must have been it.
I totally messaged him. I totally didn't message him before the episode and ask him if I was right about these things or not. Okay, in third place we have Rug Delver, played by Luis MJ. Again, there was a couple of okay, this is not super exciting to some people, but there was 2 spell pierces in the main deck. Everyone's focusing on much more tap out style, so everyone's playing, if you can, turn 1 Delver, turn 2 Arcanist, turn 3 Oko kind of thing. So I just haven't seen spell pierce in a while. I actually played against this person and they beat me with spell pierce, so maybe it's just ingrained in my head.
Yeah, these days it feels like whenever I go up against the Delver deck, like in the past, Delver decks always had spell pierces, usually in the main as well. And these days I'm like, yeah, nobody's gonna have spell pierce. Like, what's the worst that could happen? Like, they made Fire for my glimpse, and then there's spell pierces, and you're like, oh shit, fucking time machines.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, I'm not surprised to see it come back. Like, in a world where people play, I don't know, Garruk, Primal Hunter, spell pierce is a place for sure. Oh my god, look at the artwork. You got a mouse over.
I'm looking at it.
Oh my god, I have no idea where that's coming from, but it's so weird.
Secret Lair.
Okay, everybody, check out Secret Lair spell pierces because that's.
Yeah. It's a tattoo themed Secret Lair.
Oh, okay. That's pretty wild.
It is wild.
Next?
Yeah. No comment.
Cool.
I'm not sure about it. But otherwise, yeah. Rug Delver. In 4th place, we have Basuta, who is playing Moonstumpy. It's another deck we just saw kind of disappear. I guess it struggled against Snow. It can struggle against Delver. But this deck is built very differently to how we know it. So we have 2 Anje's Ravager in the main deck, which I love this card. And when it got spoiled, I thought it was actually going to be very good in Legacy. It's a 3-mana 3/3. It attacks each combat and Fable. And when it attacks, you discard your hand and draw 3 cards. And it has Madness for 2 mana. But I don't think that'll come up very often in this deck. But I don't know, just in a deck that's pumping everything out in your hand with Soul Lands and Seeming Spirit Guides and Chromoxes and stuff, yeah, you get rid of your hand and you can play this and then just get your cards back up again. So pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that it also works on attack and not on. Actually, I don't like that because that's the theme that has been going on.
No blocking.
Cards don't need to connect anymore. Yeah, blocking is irrelevant. You just gotta make it to the attack step from your main phase. You can do it. And then you get to refuel your hand, and that's exactly what this card is doing for the deck. I think it's kind of cool. I saw it in action, and I think the Ravager actually contributed quite a bit.
Nice. Yeah, it seems really. There's 2 more on the sideboard as well, so full 4 in the 75. I think it's really powerful, and it's cool to see it be worked on. Because this build, so the other stuff that's different to usual is this 4 Pia and Kira Nalar, which is the mum and dad of Chandra, I believe it is.
Yeah.
So they're a 4-mana 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, create 2/1/1 colorless stop to artifact creature tokens with flying. And for 2 in a red, you can sacrifice an artifact and it deals 2 damage to any target. So this card is pretty decent against Delver. You can at least try and block stuff, or gives you a lot of blockers to buy some time against big Tarmogoyfs or something. It's just bodies on the board, and it's very good against Snow, I guess, as well, because it's just extra bodies on the board. So I'm interested to see how they actually played out, because in theory it seems okay. They're kind of replacing the Chandras, I guess.
Yeah, I was wondering whether you want to play the Chandras or her parents.
Yes. So, true. So the Chandras, there's actually 4 Chandra in the sideboard. So Chandra seems like the best card in the deck very often. So I'm surprised, but yeah, this is too big brain for me to play Chandras in the sideboard.
I guess it helps you playing. Okay, so Chandra and Pia and Kira, they allow you to clear the path for a Ravager, but I guess if you're only playing 2 Ravagers, that's not really a big deal.
Yeah. I think this is just focused on creatures beating down, because I guess there's just very little sweepers being played right now. And so anything that creates, there's loads of spot removal. So anything that creates tokens, you also have 4 Goblin Rabmaster, 4 Legion Warboss in this deck. So you're just looking to really pressure any decks playing swords and bolts and whatever. The deck also has 3 Shatterskull Smashing, which I think is sweet. So this is the one of the bolt lands, as we called them before. So you can play it as a land, and ETB is tapped unless you pay 3 life. Or Shatterskull Smashing side is 2 red and X. Deals X damage to dividers you choose among up to 2 target creatures and/or planeswalkers. Or if X is 6 or more, it deals twice X damage to dividers you choose among them instead. So this is just a land that you can put under Chrome Mox or removal for a Delver or whatever. It seems amazing in this deck.
Oh, that's actually interesting. Because the front side is actually a red sorcery, so you can put it in
exactly.
Chrome Mox. Would you ever want to do that? I guess if you have too many lands, but you want to get some tempo advantage, like the stack always does. Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
I don't hate that. Actually, yeah, that makes the deck a lot more consistent.
Yeah, it seems very good to me. Very cool. And in a world of like Delver everywhere, if you can have a land or a mana source that also is a removal spell, even if it's not very efficient, that's amazing. I don't know. I think it's just great. So when we talked about these on our episode going over new spoilers and stuff, didn't clock it in Moonstompy actually.
Mm-hmm. Oh, look who you got in 5th place. Oh my god. What a scrap.
Anzi D, he's alright, I guess. Spoiler, he also top-8'd the 3rd one as well. Just insane run. So he came like, I think he was just outside the top 16 in the first one, like 22nd if I remember correctly.
Yeah, something like, I thought 21st, but yeah.
Something like that. Then 5th place in this one and top 8 again in the last one. Crazy. Just an amazing player, amazing streamer, amazing person. Go check him out.
72 hours, no sleep, easy game.
Oh, mental. He's a machine.
That's actually insane. Like, if you could like think about like at least the 2 events that he top 8'd, that must have been like 10 rounds. I guess even 11 because I think in one he lost in the quarterfinals in both. And then the Friday event as well. And then he was also like working on coverage with me. Like, I have no idea. Like, this guy must be full of coffee at this point.
I think so. He has like a nitro machine right by his desk probably. But the deck he played is what he's been playing in most like big events recently. It's 5-color Snow. Not too many standouts on both the lists. He has 2 Null Rods sideboard, which is not super common. Kind of fucks with your Astrolabes, I guess, but he probably expected D&T, which I guess you still want the Astrolabes there, but it does enough work otherwise. And maybe he's struggling with combo decks as well. And then 2 Shark Typhoons, pretty cool to see. I really like them in this deck. So
yeah, that's just like another endgame mana sink or anything that you can like leverage in the endgame, right?
Exactly.
I've seen him cast it with Carpet of Flowers, I believe, like a couple of times.
Yeah.
And
that's
I think
legit.
at that point, like once you get that down and you sit behind like Force of Further or something, it's crazy. It's really crazy.
Like Legacy can't deal with 5/5 flyings. That's it.
Something's never changed. I remember when that was the theme like 11 years ago when people said, well, back then was like a 4/4 Genesis. That like tempo decks, they couldn't beat Genesis because Genesis, you pay 3 mana, you recur it, and then you play it out again for 5, and it's a 4/4, and it's like bigger than anything the tempo decks can have. And then Tarmogoyf became a thing.
Yeah. Okay, because I guess back then it was like Mongoose, Werebear, and Medley Mage, I think.
Yeah. Against Werebear, I guess it trades, but yeah.
Yeah. Fun times. So he also actually doesn't have Ice Fang Coatls in the deck. Which is
he got none.
He's got none.
Okay, this is actually he's got none. Okay, he's got at least 2 Dead of Winter, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, so 2 Dead of Winter. He has 3 Source of Plowshares, which is it's usually 4 as well. But I think from what I remember him saying, he likes Shark Typhoon over Ice Fang, because they do trade with Delvers fairly easily as well. Do a similar thing. It's 2 extra mana, but you don't need to have Death Touch on. Or maybe he just thinks the Delver matchup's so good already, it's okay, which I can see.
Yeah, wasn't it like in one of our previous casts, or maybe I talked about it somewhere else, where there's a trend to start cutting the Ice Fang Coatls from the deck because, as we mentioned in the previous episode, if you're blocking, you're losing because the actual damage is being done on attack, not on blocks.
Yeah,
so
it is bad versus Arcanist.
While the card is still like technically good, there's other things you might want to do. Like, for example, he's running 6 spot removal spells, including the 3 Assassin's Trophies, and that's, I guess, what you would rather do.
Yeah. Plus the 2 Dead of Winters, and then, of course, 4 Arrows to just clog stuff up. Yeah, it seems good enough without them. So that's cool.
And 3 Summon Libraries, of course, because that's what you do in Legacy. You gain life and you draw cards.
Yeah.
Controls Paradise.
Mid-range Paradise.
Okay, yeah, true. I'm always on record how like a lot of control decks are like fake control decks and they're actually like mid-range decks.
Cool. All right, so moving on, we have in 6th place we have Setterline, I think, Bug Hogek. Again, pretty stock. We have just the usual things. We have the Dryad Arbor. That's the only thing that's sometimes a bit different. But yeah, Bug Hogek putting up another result, which is cool. So it's top 8'd both the first event and the second event, which is nice to see. Didn't put up a huge amount of numbers outside of that from what I remember. But well,
we're gonna get to that, but it's still one of the most successful decks of the entire weekend.
Oh, okay. Put me in my place.
Still in I remember it to be in the top 5, but we'll get to that.
Okay, cool. 7th place we have McWinsource, who is Tom White, known as like one of the absolute end bosses monsters, especially in Modern, of like prelims and challenges and premier events. The guy wins PTQs all the time, and he's just an incredible. Like he always plays control. So he's playing 5-color Snow, but Snow is quote unquote Snow. So he has the Green Sun Zenith package in the deck. So I really like this in theory, and I've tried it a few times, and I'm surprised more people aren't doing this. So it is kind of similar to what Anurag's deck was like as well, or any other kind of Snow decks. But then it has as Green Sun targets a Knight of the Reliquary, Leovold, a Omnath Locus of Creation, one of the new ones. Then he gets to play like just 2 Uros, because then you can Green Sun for it, so it's essentially 5 Uros. You also have a Dryad Arbor to Green Sun 4, so you can like play your turn 2 Okos and whatever. So these decks really want to get ahead on mana fast as well, so I really like it in theory.
You just skip over the best Green Sun Standard target in this entire deck.
Oh shit. Noble Hierarch. Sorry. Noble
That's
Hierarch.
my favorite card in all of Magic.
I'm sorry. I thought there was like 4 of them actually. That's why I went over it, because it was going to be something else to say. But no, 1 Noble Hierarch. I'm sorry. Best card on the deck.
You know what I like about it? If you like randomly got it, and then later on you get into one of those like Oko wars where everybody like elks each other's Uros.
So you have 4/4 elks.
Yeah, but I'm actually not even sure if that's better, because if like the other guy's Oko Uro dies, then they get to replay Uro, and then you're still sitting there with your 4/4. Like, I don't even know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a thing that could come up.
Yeah.
Any deck that's playing Noble Hierarch already immediately has my attention, even if it's just a one-off. By the way, something that's also really interesting that I just noticed, there's a one-off Field of the Dead, which is a card that has been talked about a lot in the past, especially like in the past 1-2 weeks.
Yeah.
When people were trying to figure out how to go like on top of each other, like we talked about earlier in the Snowko mirror, because honestly, I don't want to say it's a miserable mirror, but I also haven't played too much of it, but I've watched quite a bit of it, and it's that kind of like I said, fake control, rather mid-range mirror where nobody's really able to get a leg up, because everybody keeps doing the same until somebody like runs into either like a series of bad decisions or a series of like bad top decks. And Field of the Dead, since like nobody can actually take away the field, there's like no wastelands and stuff, and if you sit on it and you make enough land drops, you get to build a reasonable army. Yeah,
it should go over the top. Like some people playing Assassin's Trophy like Anurag is, so that's a way to deal with it. But otherwise, he does have like a pseudo tutor chain for it as well. You can Green Sun for Night and Night for the Field of the Dead as well. So it's not like just a random one-of as well. He can find it pretty consistently. And so as a one-of, it probably took a spell slot in the deck. It's the 22nd land. So I quite like it. Like it might not be able to just like solo win games, because it's not going to beat your opponent if they have an Uro and an Oko in play or whatever. But it's just this extra layer on top when you're both doing the same thing.
Dude, if I was going into a Snowko mirror and I saw Field of the Dead on my opponent's deck list, that would actually scare me much more than any 5-mana Planeswalker ever could.
Yeah, true. What I think is actually extra good about this deck for the mirrors is the Cyborg Clothis, which you can Green Sun for. So this is what makes Green Sun really good to me.
Oh my god, that's insane. Yeah. Oh my god, I just realized it's because it's never really a creature, right?
No,
but in the deck it's a creature.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So this is where
oh my fucking god, this deck is the best.
So it's kind of like it's like Snow Maverick. There we go. We've got your attention, Julian. It's Snow Maverick.
Can we just like drop all the bullshit and just play that? Because like when I watched Daniel's matches in the top 8, Clothis did so much work.
Clothis is insane. Yeah.
I wonder whether like everybody talks about Clothis, like not all the time, but often enough. And I wonder whether we are still like not getting Clothis, because when I recorded with Daniel, and I mean his matches were quite long, so we talked quite a bit.
Yeah.
And he had a lot to say about Clothis, like, all the time. It felt like his entire game plan in some matchups really was just like, get Clothis out, nobody can touch it, and now I'm just going to sit here and defend myself for 5, 6, 7 turns.
I think that's the plan against Snow, so...
And you can send it for it, it's insane.
Yeah, so this list looks like just fantastic in the mirrors and for Delver. Like, again, against Delver, you just have all this usual stuff as well. You have loads of spot removal, you have Okos and Uros and Ice Fangs and everything, so yeah. And then you also have, in the sideboard, you have Scavenging Ooze and Collector Roof to Green Sun 4, like really, really hard-hitting hate cards. So there's a lot of going on here. A lot to unpack, as they say.
I kind of want to find a way to put Clothis in Elves. Red has always been like one of the weaker splashers in the deck, but this card, indestructible.
Well, the problem with Elves and Clothis is Elves kills the opponent too fast for it to matter.
Yeah, and also Elves will probably like turn on Clothis at some point, and then they can start supply
totally
or Terminus it. It's like, oh shit.
I have seen a screenshot from Albert, who's Ali, who plays the lands a lot, he's posted a screenshot of Clothis attacking from lands when he had like so many chokes and explorations in play that it was active. Pretty cool.
Oh, you could do that. Oh my god, look in 8th place. This is amazing.
So yeah, 8th place we have Rugdelver.
Yeah, the deck is like bullshit. No, the deck is not bullshit, but I don't care about the deck right now. You know WotC?
Yes, so this is Angelo Cadai, the Italian master of Legacy. Usually plays Miracles, so here we see him playing Rugdelver. I'm
so surprised to see him play that because like I've known Angelo for many years and he's always gravitated heavily towards control decks, or I guess Twin also counts as a control deck in Modern back then.
Yeah.
And see him play this instead of Snow, I'm
surprised as well.
I kind of almost wanted to say that makes me have even more respect for him, as if like playing Snow would make me think less of him. No, that I wouldn't, but like when I see somebody who's very much known to play a specific style of deck, but then he's like, you know what, we're going to do something else and I'm going to be actually really successful with it apparently. That just makes me feel good. I don't know. I like it when people do that.
Definitely. Like when I saw the standings at the end, I saw his name there. I was like, oh, okay, so we've got like probably Snow, could be Miracles of some kind. I thought he'd be playing Mark-Eric Voigt's kind of Miracles list, actually. That's why I picked it as.
Guessed.
But he has it, so mostly stock. He has a Spell Pierce and a Spell Snare in the main deck, which similar to the Spell Pierces earlier, a bit different, but a splash of differentness. Otherwise. Yeah, so moving on, in 9th place, we have Lactone 56513. Really catchy name. Rolls off the tongue, you know. It's actually another deck we haven't seen too much of recently. Slow Depths, I guess. I've always, this is one of my weak spots. I don't know how to define depth decks very well, so I'm sure the Discord's going to give me hell. But it's got Dark Confident, it has Elvish Reclaimers, it has a main deck Abrupt Decays, and like 7 discard spells. Looks pretty slow to me.
Yeah, I think like a big thing is whether you play stuff like Dark Confident in the first place or like Lotus Petals. I guess it's sometimes split between Lotus Petals and the Average Spirit Guides. They both have their like advantages. But I think Dark Confident is rather uncommon in actual turbo depth, I want to say. But I also don't want to be like 100% on this, but I'm rather sure. Yeah.
So cool stuff. We have a Shizo Death Storehouse. Can you?
Okay. Let me guess.
You have to guess.
I'm not gonna mouse over it, okay? Because I was about to. Okay. I think it's something about blocking or either life gain, life loss. But I don't remember. I think it's something
close
about
to blocking.
Yeah, I'm gonna give in. Okay. Oh, it's this one. I could have told by the artwork. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you gain fear. Oh my god, I actually played that in one of my decks. Oh my god.
So yeah, it gives. So it's a legendary land, taps for black mana, or black and tap it. Target legendary creature gains fear until end of turn. So this essentially gives your Marit Lage fear, which can't be blocked by black and or artifact creatures. So it gets through like Icefang Coatl, I guess, Flicker Wisps, stuff like that. Annoying flying creatures.
Yeah, it can only be basically blocked by another Marit Lage.
Yeah, or like Baleful Strix.
Or Ornithopter.
Yeah, true. So, surprised to see this. I think it's been like, it seems kind of niche, but I guess it's just another land. So, fine, you can crop rotation for it.
Basically another version of Sechiri Step, I guess. But it also produces a kind of mana that's actually relevant to your deck.
Yeah, and it has really cool artwork, so I like it. Yeah. Sideboard, we have 2 Torpor Orbs. What do you think those are for?
Oh, dude, that's an amazing choice. Like those have been been discussed in I think the community for like a week or so, because not only does this like really hurt elves, it also like it's a big thing against Death and Taxes and also Espervile, and I think you could even consider it against Uro. Like I'm not too hot on having it against Uro because usually it doesn't really cross over into other. Like I guess it also turns off their Icefang Coatls, kind of, at least the card draw. I'm not sure whether you would bring it in.
Against Uro, it's quite funny if they just cast Uro, it doesn't get sacrificed, so they have a 3-mana 6/6.
Yeah.
So yeah. Not too great.
By the way, we should also mention what it does, because it's probably like rather uncommon. It's a 2-mana artifact, and creatures entering the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger. So yeah, actually,
not too hot against Uro, but I like it. Like you said, it's Elves and D&T and Espervile, like they do make up a pretty sizable portion of the metagame, and D&T and Espervile especially seem tough. Like this is going to stop your Palace Jailers, your Flicker Wisps, stuff like that. So yeah, seems cool. Maybe like a little bit too niche at the end of the day, but it's pretty high impact as well. So
yeah, it depends a little bit on like how much you struggle in that matchup and how much of that card is gonna solve.
Yeah.
And I think especially elves, but also like already creeping up to the tournament, D&T we're showing like pretty good results. So maybe that's just like a way to hedge your bets or something. Be like, okay, if I face those, I'm gonna have a really strong card against them. I mean, you could also play something like Cursed Totem, but I guess that turns off your Elfish Reclaimers, and overall it's still. I'm somewhat torn between whether Torpor or Cursed Totem is better against elves, and I guess it also heavily depends on the matchup. But those two cards really hit hard.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, moving on. We have in 10th place we have Hopkins23 playing D&T. Again, cool to see. Nothing stood out to me, but again, D&T just putting up the numbers again and again. 11th place we have Salty Heater on Espervile. I always have to like go over Espervile decks like really meticulously because I've put nothing stood out to me, but there's so many one-offs and like the sideboard changes quite a lot, so I think it looks pretty normal. Like we have one Skyclave Apparition in the main deck and one in the sideboard, so that's a new card. We'll talk about this more when we get to D&T after the deck lists, but yeah, pretty.
I mean, Wenza is not the super most common choice anymore ever since
really? Baron.
Ever since, where is it? Apparition became a thing. But, okay. I mean, I think probably still, I would guess around half the decks are still playing Wenza. Okay. And maybe, like, I'm not even saying that it's worse to play Wenza because there's things you can only do with Wenza, especially once it involves, stuff that Apparition can touch if the mana cost becomes too big.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like Wenza. Wenza even like gets rid of like uncounterable stuff from the stack. If you play against like Doomsday, you just send back the Thassa's Oracles, like no big deal. Yeah, Kevin, whatever. I like that.
I like Venser a lot. It does a lot for the deck, so makes sense. 12th place, we have Yetcat, who is a Toru Takisaka, who is very, very well-known Japanese player who plays lands. They placed 4th place at Eternal Weekend 2018, so pretty recently. And I'm pretty sure they've like won or placed very highly at a lot of big events in Japan. So yeah, they are one of the best lands players in my opinion. And they were playing 4 main deck Reclaimer this time around, which feels like this is one of the best cards I think Lands has available to beat Delver. So that stands out because it's very often like a kind of a sideboard card usually, or maybe 1 or 2 in the main deck. So cool to see 4 of. And it also has 2 of the new enchantment, which I think a lot of people, apart from the lands people, slept on this in the deck. Like we're on our spoiler cast, we were talking about, it's maybe a sideboard option for control, but he's got 2 in the main deck here, and I think lands may end up playing more. It's just insane in the deck. It's a Valakut Exploration. I
think on the spoiler episode you actually mentioned this as a
we
card
did,
that would
yeah.
really slot well into Archie lands.
I gave it to you to talk about because there's loads of words on it, and then we said it could like go into land sideboards, but it's just a main deck card apparently.
So wait. I'm supposed to take care of the cards that have lots of words, and then you introduce like, I don't know, Raging Goblin.
Exactly.
And speaking of, can I tell a fun story really quick? Because when I was going back to my recording with Daniel, that was actually quite the experience. we were once again talking about Uro and Oko, and he told me for like a month or so he didn't know what the cards do because he was just like too lazy to read like all of their abilities. So he would just like start off like reading just like the first paragraph or the first line, like, oh, that's what the card does, and then like he didn't care about it for a couple of weeks, and then eventually he was like, okay, let's read the second line. I don't even care. This is so much text.
This is such a Daniel thing. Amazing. So which card didn't he know? Valakut Exploration.
No, I think he didn't know like what Uro does because there was like so much going on in Uro. So eventually, like after a month, he decided to read the entire thing.
I don't think I believe him there, but I believe him for any other cards.
If there was one person in the world I would believe on that stuff, it might be him. On the other hand, he's like really abused Uro, but maybe actually just played it and eventually was like, I just play this and eventually I win. I'm not even sure what it does.
Just don't read it and you'll eventually work it out after what it does.
You're gonna be fine. Your punch is gonna scoop.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, lands, Valakut Exploration, sweet. 13th place we have Burst Meow on Rugdelver. Again, nothing stood out there. 14th, we have Lin Chalice playing Stryfopile. This is the Yorion version again. Different to the Nahiri version we talked about earlier. This is like pretty heavy black, no white, loads of removal, loads of 1s and 2s of and 3s of, and in typical chase style 4 Dark Fadens.
Well, I can't say anything. I have a restraining order on ever commenting on Stryfopile decks because they represent everything I hate.
So I'm going to be...
Not the player, but the deck.
You can be the yin, I'm going to be the yang, and I love these kind of decks. Like, we can talk about it another time, but I love it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it, people. 50th place, we have Ant, played by David Vander Raven. Haven't seen... This is the only Storm deck, I think, placing in these top 16s until I get to one, probably soon, and look like an idiot, but...
Altogether, I think Arndt was surprisingly the most successful Storm deck of the entire weekend.
Cool.
Putting 3 people, I believe, in all top 16s combined. So on average, like 1 in each top 16. Which is quite surprising, right? Considering that the deck 16s. Wasn't really like played.
You mean 8-2s or top 16s?
8-2s, yeah, okay. That's what I meant.
Cool. There's some really cool cyborg tech. So have you seen this?
Oh my god. Okay, I would never know what this card does, but like whenever I don't know, I remembered. Okay, they have Kahira the Orphan Guard. Orphan Guard. I thought it was like, okay. So for those who don't know, it's a companion, a planeswalker. No, it's a creature. It's a cat beast. It has basically kitchen sink mana costs. If that works, it's 1 and then a green or a white or a green or a white. It's a 3/2, and the requirement is that you have. Each creature card in your deck is a cat, elemental, nightmare, dinosaur, beast card. Okay, so it's basically free to include as a sideboard card. It doesn't really matter what it does. I guess it has vigilance and that's it.
Mm-hmm. And
so the interesting thing about this card is like, why would you put that in there? I mean, technically it's a card you can wish for, or like wish for, quote unquote, as in like companion wish style.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have like an extra card, you can get it down. It's a creature. I guess it can murder like a Dreaded Arcanist if they don't have like a lightning bolt or something. But I think the main reason it's there, and that's so fucking cool, seriously.
So smart.
It's Giga Brain.
Yeah,
They have 3 Force of Vigor in the sideboard, which requires you to pitch a green card. And since this Kahira cat beast is a green and white card, you can actually wish for it to satisfy like force. This is so flavorful.
So you
want to destroy the things that are binding you, the artifacts, the enchantments, whatever. So you wish for your cat beast dinosaur god, and then you make like the biggest sacrifice ever. You get rid of your cat beast dinosaur lord. Yeah. This is like in Super Mario when you walk towards the finish line, you make that big jump, and then you dump Yoshi and you jump from Yoshi's bag into the finish lines. This is what's happening here.
Oh, poor Yoshi. Kahira's Yoshi.
Giga Brain deck building.
Yeah. So I first saw Michael Clifford post about this in the Ant Facebook group, I think, and yeah, it's just so clever, so cool. Here's a question: do you reveal Kahira game 1? Before the game starts?
You probably don't, right? I mean, unless you know what the matchup is and you think that the 3/2 creature might actually ever do something.
Yeah.
But you probably don't. I mean, you could, because honestly, like if you do, and the opponent isn't aware of the attack going around, they might think you're a creature deck, which probably doesn't change too much, but yeah.
Well, I mean, you have to have only like cats, elementals, nightmares, dinosaurs, or beasts in your deck. So if you reveal this, you basically say, I'm not Delver, I'm not Snow, I'm not D&T, I'm not Moonstompy, I'm not a lot of things.
Yeah.
So
that's true as well.
Yeah, so I think you don't reveal it game 1, and then you just reveal it the sideboard games. Pretty cool. So crazy, awesome stuff.
Your opponent's going to be so confused when you reveal it.
Oh, imagine!
Oh my god, the
transformation
transformational sideboard into beasts.
You just tendrils them, and then game 2 show Kahira. Very cool. And then it is just like you can cast it off Petals, and you have Bayou and Tropical Island in the deck as well. So cool. And rounding out the second top 16, we have Manus playing 4-color Miracles. So we had a discussion last time whether it's Miracles or is it Snow, but it's basically Bant Snow. It has 3 Terminus, so quite a few. So yeah, it's like Miracles as well. Usual suspects, we have a Jace, 3 Okos, Teferi, Astrolabes, Ice Fang, Snapcasters. Only 1 Uro, and we have a Sylvan Library, Counterbalance, and Back to Basics in the main.
Counterbalance. We keep seeing Counterbalance pop up every once in a while. Does it really do something?
I feel like it's not great right now. Like Delver has like a higher-ish curve as well, and the mirrors, it's probably good sometimes. It just feels so hit and miss. I'm not a fan of it really, but yeah. But cool.
It can be annoying, I guess, because it introduces like a level of variance to the games that you might not want, but
yeah. At least you have stupid Allosaurus Shepherd for it now, so you just don't care at all.
Oh, and they have a humility. I think we saw an humility earlier in one
yeah.
of the lists. That's basically kind of like a torpor op, right?
Yeah.
Is there like any way to break humility in these kinds of decks? I guess you have Planeswalkers. Oh, and you have Oko, yeah. Oko allows you to have 3/3s even under humility.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems cool. And if people are playing like Elves, D&D, Sneak and Show, whatever, yeah, seems cool. All right, so moving on to our final flight. So this is the one for the Maze of Ith painting. So this is the one that hit capacity.
But can I interrupt you, please?
Go
like,
yep.
Who made the decision to pick Maze of Ith?
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't going to touch on that because, but
I was going to touch on that because like this person is probably like still watching Friends and like living in a meta game like from 10, 15, 20 years ago. It's like, why?
Yeah.
We have honestly, like, okay, here's the thing. I'm gonna give them some credit. I think the flavor of these cards has always been iconic lands, at least for the legacy winners. And there's only so many iconic legacy lands. I think if you had done Tabernacle, I think Tabernacle has not been done yet.
Oh my god, that would have been insane.
Yeah, something other than Maze. Like Maze was iconic 10 years ago, but 10
what
years ago.
about Mystic Sanctuary?
Oh no, that would be a troll.
Yeah. Well, we joked about doing Oko.
yeah, and Vintage, they just do Astrolabe, like the most powerful artifacts. Like, okay, Astrolabe. And that's like this awesome artwork where like all the power 9, they bow down to the mighty Astrolabe. It's like, oh, I'm a generous king. Oh, Astrolabe. Okay, anyway.
But yeah, Maze, the artwork is amazing for this one as well, so it's pretty cool. Like, it's still a really iconic card. Like, it's Eternal Weekend. It's talking about eternal things. Maze of Ith is played in eternal formats, and it's like very big in other like unsanctioned formats, I guess, and pre-modern and things.
You were about to say casual, admit it.
I was about to, and I braked and turned to the side. But yeah, not the best one ever, but I think it's fine. I like it. It's cool.
Yeah, artwork is amazing.
Yeah.
Artwork is absolutely amazing. It reminds you of Breath of the Wild, gotta say.
Oh yeah, true. It does. So this event, it hit capacity, 672 players. That is insane. I just realized we didn't actually mention how many players were in the first two, but it was 400 and...
No, the first one was 581, and the second one was a little less. I guess there was...
Yeah, it was 400 and something.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit harder to hit the second one because it basically started right as the top 8 of the second one was gone. So anyone who played the first 10 rounds, they probably couldn't play another 10 rounds. So, but it's kind of hard to make the timing work. I think the idea was they make the timing work for like their 3 regions where they used to have pay-by-turn events.
I love that. I love the way they did this, I've got to say.
Yeah.
But this was the big one for Americans. So 670 players signed up. That capped. And then there were reports of loads of people missing out, which is a huge shame because I wasn't expecting them to cap. So if I wasn't like ready to play, I wouldn't have signed up till last minute and then missed out as well. So yeah, sorry to everyone that didn't get in. Hopefully they've said for the vintage ones they've allowed for 1,024 players now. Should it happen?
You know, I feel actually a little bit embarrassed because when Anurag and we were talking to Wizards, we were like a little bit concerned whether the vintage event would hit the minimum cap and stuff, and so they reduced it to 9 or like 16 or something.
Oh, really?
Because it was like a little bit more, and we were like, oh, we don't know. You get 2 on the same day, and now like Legacy sets the pace was like almost 600 or something.
No, I think vintage is going to get great numbers. I don't know about cap, but we'll see. It's gonna be big. I think people online really like playing vintage actually.
Yeah, and before we go into that, I also want to mention, I know that Wizards has actually allowed people who couldn't get into the final event to exchange their, legacy event ticket token for the vintage one.
That's really
people have been in contact with customer support, and they made that work. So if you want to do that, just reach out to them on Twitter or via the maybe even like compensation thing that they have on the website.
Yeah, they've seemed quite accommodating to this because as they should. Like I guess I like the way they did it. Like, you don't have to dedicate yourself to which one you want to play. Like, personally, I like the way they did it. But at the same time, there is some obvious feel bads where you buy a ticket and then you can't play. Like, that's awful. But yeah, I think it's been well run from what I can tell, apart from the prizes. But moving on, should we cover the third event?
Yeah, definitely. Let's go ahead.
Cool. So first base, we had Azuzera on Elves. What do you think of this Elves list? And what do you think of Elves?
Dude, I'm so happy to see him do well.
Yeah.
I've actually talked to him quite a bit after the event because
Nice.
we were also recording Eduardo from Brazil, by the way.
Oh, awesome.
And it's so cool to see him doing like such a nice guy. And he told me he's very much like a legacy grinder dedicated to legacy. He's been playing
Nice.
lots of Fs, and I'm so happy to see him doing well. He told me like he basically picked up one of my recent lists and just made a couple of changes. I think it looks like he cut the 2 Once Upon a Times and added the 2 Elfish Reclaimers and also like the Karkas in the sideboard because you get access to that. And dude, from the matches I watched, he was just like, he was demolishing people.
Nice.
It wasn't even close, at least in the top 8 matches. Actually, you know what? Maybe I'm going to go back and watch his Swiss matches as well. But I'm so happy. Like, obviously, I'm happy to see Elves doing well, right? Because I'm very, very fond of the deck. And it's also not surprising, though. Like,
Yeah.
good player, good deck, good matchups all around the board, mostly. That's
Totally.
like something that happens.
He even, we'll touch on it in a second, his victory over the second place list is quite actually surprising as well, which is pretty cool. But yeah, as same with you, like really, I love to hear someone who like dedicates a lot of time to learning legacy and a very good player because of that do well. So massive congratulations. Second place, we have, I couldn't believe it. So we have Oops All Spells. I can't believe it. I still can't believe it. We did call out on this podcast saying, I think the biggest winner from the new set will be Oops All Spells, and here we have it. This player went undefeated until the final. That's 12-0. 12 wins without losing until the very final with Oops All Spells, which was a meme deck until a few weeks ago or a month ago, whenever the set came out. It's crazy.
He even went even further to handicap himself. He limited himself to 13 sideboard cards.
Yeah.
Because he accidentally included 2 ground seals, which, like we mentioned earlier, in the right kind of deck can be a really good thing.
Yeah.
But I think he quickly discovered, like during the tournament, that ground seal actually stops your own combo because you can't red return your creature anymore.
Yeah.
But he was like a good sport about it. He was actually joking about it. And so, I mean, that's probably like the most positive and productive way to go about it.
Yeah, I love that. Did you... is the final going to be on the coverage?
Yes.
Okay.
The final's going to be on. So I'm not gonna say how the finals went.
No.
But
I know a funny thing about it, but I'm not going to say then. Cool.
I mean, I guess he streamed it, so it's public knowledge, you know. Since he streamed it, we can actually talk about it here. So if you don't want to hear about it, just skip forward like a minute or two. So the way the finals worked is he mulliganed down to 5 in the first game, played one of his, I think, the turntable Symbiosis land, and then Elves just killed him on turn 3.
Oh, okay.
And in the second game, I think
got
Elves
leylined?
killed him on turn 3 again, and
Nice.
Elves did have a leyline, I believe. Like I think he didn't cast a single. Oh no, he cast a couple of Lotus Petals, and that's it.
Oh, fine. I was told that game 1, his opponent played an Elvish Reclaimer, and then he like didn't go for it because he was scared of bog off it or something.
Oh, that's okay. So in the first game, I saw him go down to 5 because I was only watching from the Elves perspective, and on his stream he had a hand hider.
Okay.
And I figured he might get to 5 and then just didn't have it. And Elves did in fact have the Reclaimer, and that could be a sign. Yeah.
Yeah, he might have just not had it as well. I don't know for sure, but I was told that Elves went like turn 1 Reclaimer and then got to untap, so that people were saying like, oh, that's GG. But then when we saw the list, there was no Bajuka bug. So yeah. But if Elves kills with turn 3 as well, then it should be fine. So yeah. All right, so that is Oops. And here's like Leyline of the Life Force sideboard as well, which I love. This is a Leyline, like everything else, but it makes creature spells can't be countered. And because the combo for Oops is based off creatures, it just beats all the force wheels and stuff. Pretty cool. All right, third place, we have another Hogak. So actually, Hogak got a copy in all 3 top 8s. I forgot about this one. Pretty cool. This is from Westvale Preacher. And another, like, nothing stands out, but, you know, I'm really fond of this deck, so I'm pretty happy to see it do well. Always.
Going back to, like, quickly teasing the content coming up on Wizards' website, in the final game, like, I love it when people do that. Elves makes one of the biggest, well, I guess I'm going to call it big balls move I've ever seen in Magic. And you got to check that. Like, imagine you're in the semifinals of game 3 of Eternal Weekend, and I can't say it, but Elves makes such a big balls move, and I'm like, oh my fucking god, he just didn't, and then he did, and obviously he won because he went to the finals. And
is this against
holy
Hogak?
Shit. Against Hogak, yeah.
Okay, sweet. I look forward to seeing it. All right, I'm going to be like looking out, trying to find that bit you're mentioning. But
You're immediately gonna notice it because it's a move that not a lot of people would have made. It's such big balls to the wall, and wow.
Awesome.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Cool. I love these. Sounds like a kind of like play to win, not lose kind of play. Love it. Love it.
Very much.
I'm so excited for these videos to come out. Maybe I'll take a day off work just to watch them. Yeah, I can do it. I'm feeling a bit ill. You know, I've got the case of the EW. In fourth place, we have S063, another really catchy name, flows off the tongue. Another D&T. So now we've solidified. D&T did absolutely amazing at this event. Really cool. Fifth place, we have Twisted Wombat on Rug Delver with 2 main deck heroes. Same as Daniel. I think it's basically the same list. There might be a couple of sideboard differences I remember seeing, but yeah, Rug Delver with 2 main deck heroes, 2 main deck Sylvan Libraries. Sixth place, we have Sea Cream with Mono Green Post. For the standouts, I've written I don't know because I just haven't seen this deck in so long. I can tell you that it plays Cloud Posts and crop rotations and big spaghetti monsters, but after that, I'm not really sure what's stock for the deck. So I would never, ever have guessed that we'd be seeing Mono Green Post in the top 8. But awesome, here we are.
Yeah, if somebody told you that a deck with 6 basic forests made top 8 of Eternal Weekend, which deck would you think? That's
a weird elves deck?
No idea.
Like Yuri and Elves?
Like a budget elves deck, maybe.
Yuri and Elves. I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I know roughly. So I don't know if like 4 Khan the Great Creators is usually that stock. Maybe it is, and I look silly.
It's probably the best card in the deck, I would think. I guess Golos is like what the deck is kind of built around, but that's also
good,
just like a 2 of. I guess you can find it with like Ancient Stirrings. That's a card we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah. Candelabras, maps, 3 Pithing Needles. Yeah. Awesome. I'd love to see it. Does it have so it has a Thespian stage, but no Dark Depths as well. Yeah.
I guess you can copy your opponent's Dark Depth, which is like a thing that I've done with Thespian stage decks in the past.
Oh yeah, true. Although I guess if you have map, you can crop rotation for it and then like do it end of turn. Nice. Yeah.
So the thing is, I guess the idea is you just copy your own cloud posts, just so you can have more posts.
I think so. Yeah, it makes sense. 7th place we have Anurag again on 5-color Snow. He made a couple of changes. He took away his Null Rods and I guess added different sideboard cards. And he said he cut another card and added a Drown of the Lock in the main deck, but pretty minimal changes. As we said before, crazy that he top 82. Amazing records. 8th place, finishing out the top 8, we have Hey Nongman on Espervile. Again, looks pretty stock to me. It has the vents that we were talking about before. I think this is actually just the same 75, so maybe the list went out, but maybe Jeff put out a list and they copied that.
I think people on Reddit have actually been pretty active. Somebody else put out like a deck guide. And maybe that's the list that wasn't in this.
Could be, yeah. Good point. Probably is. Moving to the top 16, in 9th place we have Ali, who we mentioned before about the attacking Clothis with all the explorations, playing lands. He is like probably the best performing lands player I think there is currently. Like he's always doing well online. No paper events, so there's that. But yeah, he has 3 main deck Abrupt Decays, then sideboard Thought Seizers, which doesn't sound too crazy, but this is not common for lands. I think at least the sideboard Thought Seizers.
The sideboard Thought Seizers I don't know about, but having more main deck removal is kind of like a thing. I've seen them usually have stuff like Lightning Bolt actually.
True.
But also like an Abrupt Decay or 2, 3. Okay, maybe that's just like a change. Like I don't see Lightning Bolts anymore at all, not even in the sideboard.
No.
So maybe that's a change.
He cited the Thought Seizers being good for Death and Taxes, which surprised me, but he'll know better than me. I guess
if you get it often like on the first turn, take out like Vile is probably like a big deal in the matchup.
Yeah.
If you can take the Viles.
Vile or like I guess Rest in Peace or whatever. Yeah. Okay, sweet lands. 10th place we have Mechint, who is Thomas Mechint, who won Eternal Weekend Europe in 2017. So I love that we've had loads of like top finishers from other Eternal Weekends placing here as well.
Oh yeah.
So he's playing Snow. Looks to be like probably taking one of the other lists that did well on the weekend. Nothing stood out to me as well. 5-color. Is it 5-color? No.
It must be 5-color.
No, it's 4-color.
Wait, he's not playing.
He's not playing red.
My God. When this guy is not playing Pyroblast, something's going on.
I think it's just the list that won the first event. Yeah. I won't check it now, but I think it's just the list that won the first event.
Okay.
It's Patrick Green's. 11th place, we have another Oops All Spells. Amazing. But this one's quite different, actually. So this is... It kind of actually looks better on paper to me, but in practice, I think it's just a bit slower and like loses that element. So it's... using Seagate Restoration, Palaka Predation, Agadeem's Awakening, which are all the double-faced land cards. And so it's playing Brainstorms, Ponders, and with the added blue sources, playing Force of Wills rather than Patch of Negations. So it has Thassa's Oracle and Dread Return as usual and stuff. So yeah, it just feels like it's got Thought Seizers as well in the main deck. So it's much heavier on Disruption, but it's just like a turn or two slower than normal Oops. So it feels like it probably makes the I guess Snow and potentially Delver matchups a bit better, but losing the speed must make you worse against the lock pieces kind of matchups.
Yeah, so but there's not too many lock pieces going on right now. I kind of want to think this Reanimator Fiend, by the way, is the name, which is like a perfect name for an Oops All Spells deck.
True. Good point.
They might be onto something. I kind of like that. It's like a little bit slower.
Yeah,
I mean, but it's still super capable of just like going off turn one, right? They still
definitely.
have like eight combo enablers and like a bunch of fast mana.
Yeah,
I don't hate it. Maybe there's something to be explored about this.
Definitely.
And oh my god, the
sideboard. The sideboard is insane. It's probably my favorite thing from the whole event. I'll let you describe this beautiful sideboard.
Okay, this sideboard is basically you're playing a combo deck, and then your sideboard you have two more combo decks. That's how I want to go about it.
It's so sweet.
You're like a slower version of Oops All Spells in the main deck, and then your sideboard you have a Charbelcher deck, but you also have a Doomsday deck because you're playing 4 Doomsday, you're playing 4 Goblin Charbelcher, and then I guess a couple of things that you can put into a Doomsday, like LED, Street Wraith, Ideas Unbound, Edge of Autumn, which, those are the common Doomsday thingies. And then also Nexus of Fate. So, okay, can you take it over? Like, I have no idea what Nexus of Fate does for this deck.
Nexus of Fate is a 7 mana, 5 and 2 blue Time Walk. And it's an instant. And when it goes to the graveyard from anywhere, you shuffle it back into your library. So, I think I need to try and think of what matchups. But I think it's for matchups where you need to mill your deck with like a Spy or something, and then have one card left in your library to pass the turn.
Oh, so it's basically doing the Progenitors thing.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Oh,
it's a Progenitors that pitches to Force of Will, which Progenitors does anyway. But you get what I mean. It's you're going to cast this more than Progenitors, I guess. But yeah, it shuffles back in. I'm not sure which matchup you'd want it, though.
Is there anything that can actually, like, actual mill you during the Doomsday thing? Like, I guess there's Predict, but that's not really happening.
Yeah.
But even then, like, you still lose the potential Thassa's Oracle if they hit it.
There must be a reason.
Because it doesn't shuffle your graveyard back in, right?
No, it's just itself. I'm blanking, but there must be a good reason.
There's like, even if you go for like a past a turn, like if they mill your entire library, you're still dead, even if you have Nexus of Fate.
Yeah.
Is there like a way for them to continuously produce 7 mana?
There are 7 lands in like Chrome Mox. Yeah. But not realistically, I think.
Dude, I'm telling you, as soon as we end the cast, we're gonna be like, "Oh, this is what it's supposed to do." But seriously,
yeah.
I don't see anything. It's probably just like, yeah.
I'll go and do my research.
Oh, okay. So you don't die against Grindstone, I guess, but then you once again use it. But the thing is, like, if you lose all your cards, that's fine. That's like what the deck is supposed to do, right? Then you can actually dread return.
Yeah, they need to make you draw. So yeah.
Okay, maybe it's really just like a random one-off against something like Painter, because like Painter can't. Okay, this is actually really cool. So if Painter grindstones you on say your upkeep, then you draw your Nexus of Fate and you kill them. So that's what I'm seeing here.
I don't think it's that, but I'm gonna give up. We should pass. But yeah, tell us when this comes out in the comments section anywhere what it's for, because it must be for something. I'm just blanking. Okay, moving on. 12th place, we have Echo of Ian's thing. First copy of this we've seen in any of the top 8s. Great to see it do well again. It's always this like kind of, I think it struggles with Delvers. It's not amazingly positioned currently, but it's pretty good against Snow, and it's like a combo killer. It's in the right metagames, it can be very good when Delver's not at a height, especially when Chalice is good against Delver as well, which is not currently great. So Yeah, it looks pretty stock to your usual thing. There was a sideboard submerge, which kind of caught my eye. Nod to Delver, but other than that, it's your usual kind of stuff.
Don't you actually need to control an island for submerge to work?
Yes. How many islands are in the deck? There's 7.
1. Oh, no, 7. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm bad. I read it the American way.
Or yeah.
Rather the European way. You know how 7s are different between like Europe and America?
Weirdos. One of them are. 13th place, we have TPC 2000 on the Epic Storm. Cool. So another Storm deck. Again, we haven't seen that many kind of at least Storm, like critical mass based combo decks in the top 8. So nice to see another one. Looks pretty stock to me, probably from Bryant and Co. I would assume.
Yeah, I would just guess that's what Bryant is playing right now.
Yeah, nothing catches my eye that's different from there. In 14th place, we have another Death and Taxes, but this time with a black splash for Oars of Pontiff. Not Plague Engineer, as I would have guessed, but Oars of Pontiff. So anyone that doesn't remember what Oars of Pontiff does, because it hasn't been played in a long time, it costs 3 mana total.
I certainly remember.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Oh, I like it against elves. It's a 1 colorless, 1 white, 1 black for a 1/1 human cleric. When it enters the battlefield or a creature it haunts dies, choose 1. Creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Creatures you don't control get -1/-1 until end of turn. And it also has haunt, so when this creature dies, exile it haunting another target creature. And then haunt works like as I read on the ability, when that creature it haunts dies, you do the effect again. So it's kind of like it's basically like a one-sided -1/-1 to your opponent's creatures generally, I would guess.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Wrath that you can recruit her for, I guess.
Yeah, I am surprised it's not playing Plague Engineer instead, but I don't know.
I saw the player tweet about it. Tashizen is their name, at least on Magic Online, and they said they basically took the stock XJ Cloud list and they just added the Oars of Pontiffs to it. And I think they mentioned that they were like amazing throughout the tournament.
Cool, that sounds good. I mean, I like the idea. I think D&T can splash. They have, how many black sources do they have though? 1, 2, 3,
not too many.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's kind of low. You have vials as well, I guess. Kind of low, but I guess if it's high impact enough and it's worth a splash in your opinion, then you can like skimp a bit, because you do need basics as well in these decks. Enough of them. But yeah, I hope it did well. Otherwise, they've got a second one on the sideboard. Is there any other black cards on the sideboard? Don't say Surgical Extraction. That doesn't count.
Yeah.
No, it looks no. But so, yeah. I mean, they placed well, so they must have done something. 15th place, we have another Death and Taxes. God, there's so many. It has really returned.
We'll get to that in a minute.
yeah. Cool. Another D&T. And finishing out, we have Reader Rabbit. So Reed Duke. This was a pleasure to watch him. He was streaming. He played 2 of the events, and he was streaming all of it, playing elves as he usually does. His other deck is Pox, so he didn't choose to bring Pox to Eternal Weekend, sadly. But yeah, I'll let you take away. What do you think of this elves deck?
This is super straightforward. This is probably as stock as it gets these days. He made a minor switch compared to like what most people play when they play like the stock list. He plays like 1 Virtual Rangers. Usually like I like playing 2 because it makes it easier to cast your sideboard cards, but that's just like one thing. And he also doesn't play like the 1 of Silver Bullet that we sometimes have, that sometimes, like a Scavenging Ooze or a Collector Oof, and he just plays the 3rd Once Upon a Time instead, which makes sense, right? It's not a big difference. I was actually considering the 3rd Once Upon a Time as well, because I never really liked 4. I like 2 a lot. So the natural progression would be, so maybe I'm going to try out the 3rd. And in the sideboard, I like that he's, maybe I actually don't like that, but he has like no respect for Dreaded Arcanist. He's like, okay, I'm just going to run 2 Abrupt Decay. Oh, 2 Abrupt Decays. Okay, 2 Abrupt Decays, 2 Assassin's Trophies.
Yeah.
I could have sworn, like, I'm almost 100% positive I saw him play 1 Abrupt Decay and 2 Assassin's Trophies in the first event. So maybe that's a change he made. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. But honestly, I could be wrong. But Reader's always been famous for playing Assassin's Trophy in Elves, and it makes a lot of sense, right? If you want to beat specific kinds of matchups, especially against lands, if you're able to take out Tabernacle just per turn, usually is like all it takes. You can also disrupt their combo. You can sometimes like take out like 4-mana Planeswalkers. Like I guess the only thing is like Chase, where you don't have it's just like the flexibility. That's just such a big deal.
Yeah.
And against the Delver decks, they don't even get the land, so I like the card. When I was still thinking I would have the time to play an Eternal Weekend, I was like tinkering around. I had like a one-off Assassin's Trophy in the sideboard as well after seeing Reed play it again, because I was like, okay, you know what? Kind of always felt the card could do a lot for us, and I've played it in the past, and yeah, it's almost like the 15th slot in Fs right now, at least for me. Like basically 14 cards are set in stone. And then the 15th slot is what I play around. Like sometimes I have Carpet, sometimes I have Choke, and this time I was like, maybe like the Assassin's Trophy.
Yeah.
So yeah, he actually had a couple of really interesting games. So if you want to go back, if you like elves, like I hear some of you do, definitely check out his stream. And he had a couple of really interesting decisions that we talked about in chat. So definitely check that out.
Yeah, I was there for like a bunch of the games, and it's just such a pleasure watching someone who's so good at playing, obviously, and like just calm about it and explains the things. And there was one game where they had like a very close decision, and the game finished and he lost because of the decision, I think. But afterwards, he then like closed the game down and then went, right, chat, let's go over it again, and discussed every single permutation, every single possibility. Everyone was saying their opinions and stuff, and he was explaining why he did this, and he was even going into details about like feelings and how long people leave stuff to respond and stuff. Yeah, it's really, he just thinks about everything, so it's a real pleasure to watch.
Oh, that was the decision where people wanted him to like basically bait with the glimpse and then natural order. Yeah, but the glimpse resolved, so chat was like, you're definitely clear to go in the natural order, and like if you ask me, no, definitely no. I think I was quite vocal about it in chat as well.
Yeah.
But you can't really blame people too much, like if you don't have that much experience with elves, or you're just like, oh, I want to win. It's always easier, like if you're in chat and you're like, yeah, let's just go for the big blowout play and
yeah. That's where my head went, that play. I when we do the glimpse, I was thinking, yeah, play glimpse, bait it, and then natural order. But if he has the force, then you do just lose on the spot, basically. So yeah, very, very cool.
So yeah, that's the what's 32 plus 16, the 48 decks that did well in the brand. We actually have data on a lot more. Like we managed to get everything together from the community. People have been very helpful providing the deck list. So we actually have the complete 8-2 meta game. So there were a lot of people who went 8-2, but they don't even show up in the top 16 just because the event was this big. And we feel like we really want to paint the bigger picture by looking at all the data that we have available here. So, wouldn't you know it, the two most successful decks in the event, what do you think they are?
Well, I'm cheating because I have it right in front of me, but without this information, I would have guessed Rug Delver and Snow. They performed better than I expected as well, honestly. Like, Rug Delver was obviously the boogeyman going into it, and everyone expected to play against that a lot, and it performed as good as I expected, and most people expected, I think. I was worried it'd be like a bit more dominant, but I don't know, people are ready for it. It's adjusted a bit. It's, in my opinion, a bit boring. It's dragging on, like it's just there always. But yeah, Rug Delver and Four Color Snow were tied for the best performing decks out of all the 8-2 or better finishes at 15 copies each, so 17% each. It would almost be like too dominant if it weren't for the third place deck, which no surprises here.
Seeing Death and Taxes in third place with 13 copies, almost like 15% of the metagame, that was like the big surprise of the weekend. And honestly, like I mentioned earlier, it really makes me happy because I've just really got a thing for the deck. Yeah. Not only because I love playing against it, but also because I love playing with it. It's just like
you have a secret agenda. We know it. Don't worry. You could admit it. We all know what you're up to.
No, but seriously, like without Death and Taxes, I would actually be like meh about these results. But seeing that this like is an option is available, it's outstanding to me, because especially like if you look at the gap to the other performing decks, like fourth place is Hogak at 6 copies. That's like less than half the copies of Death and Taxes. Mm-hmm. I remember when we were like gathering the data, like Anorak was at some point messaging me like WTF, another Death and Taxes, another Death and Taxes.
It's here, man. Skyclave Aspirin has done such wonders.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I think that's just like one of the biggest things that has happened to Death and Taxes in a while. Like, every couple of months, Wizards prints like a 2-mana thing that has a comes into play effect that everybody's like, oh my god, this is going to be insane with Flicker Wisp. And then it isn't. But Skyclave Operation, it's just so good. Like, not only is it like at a decent mana cost with 3, the effect is insane. It's not like we talked about this many times, it's not like the Oblivion Ring effect, it's actually, I don't even know how to, we don't have the Skyclave Apparition effect. It takes the thing away for good.
It elks.
It elks, I guess.
It elks Oko. If they kill it, they should get a 3/3.
The Elkar has become the Elki, I guess.
Exactly, yeah.
If you want to put it like that.
But yeah,
I'm so happy for
the
that.
card lives up to the hype. It's just, it's everything the deck wanted, because the deck was on the downcline because Oko was so good against the deck. You know, it's just elking everything. I mean, the deck is based around powerful artifacts and creatures, and Oko is exactly good against those. So, and because they relied on combat damage to kill Oko, they'd just be fighting on this axis of taking Oko off the board, where they're not attacking the life total of the player. And then if they're not attacking the life total of the player can just play lands, develop, and then have all this time after that to not feel pressured to be able to like cast spells in reasonable time and stuff. So now you just have this card that exiles the Oko, and then you can attack them for 6 or 8 or whatever, and then they're dying in a couple of turns. So it's back to the days of pressure and life totals. And I think another thing which the card has done wonders for, which is underappreciated apart from the Dith and Taxi players themselves, is freed up so many sideboard slots, which makes them way better against combo. So because you have these 3 apparitions in the main deck, you don't need to play your Council's Judgments anymore. You don't need to play like a random Oblivion Ring or whatever. So you can now play...
War Priest of Thune.
Yeah, War Priest of Thune, exactly. So now you can play Mindbreak Traps or whatever in the sideboard instead. So you just have these like 2 or 3 extra sideboard slots to dedicate towards combo. So if you go over the deck lists from Eternal Weekend, I believe you'll just see more combo hate in the sideboards, which is because of like, having these in the main deck. So it's just done so many
That's
good
actually a
things.
really good observation. I've never thought about it like that. But
Yeah.
I always like it when that happens. Like when you're able to make reasonable main deck choices that are going to be good in basically all your matchups. And that also answers a couple of things that you would otherwise be cold to, because for all the flexibility that Death and Taxes used to have, they couldn't really remove stuff permanently. Like they had Flicker Wisp, and I guess you could pull some tricks with like Containment Priest after sideboarding. But there's a reason we saw so many, you know, Conscious Judgments in the sideboard,
Yeah.
because that's what the deck lacked. And
I mean,
now
Council
it has the
Judgment
kind
is
of effect.
such a slow, clunky card as well. They don't want to play it, but it's the best option, I guess.
It's kind of similar with like what Alusara Shepherd has done for Elves. We got so much more game against, like, we already had a lot of game against blue heavy decks, but now we don't really think about them even anymore, like in the sideboard. Like our sideboard is like super straightforward these days.
Mm-hmm.
And in the past we like toyed around with Choke, or even like sometimes people tried to make their stuff uncounterable, or we had like Veil of Summers and stuff, and now we have just like 4 main deck Alusara Shepherds, which are also going to be good in like most of the matchups. And for all the hate I give Alusara Shepherd because it's still a stupid card, it is a similar effect, or rather a similar principle in deck building that's being applied here.
Yeah, so you just need less blue hair, I guess. Yeah. Should we do a rundown of the decks that are listed here, though, so everyone can
let's
have a
just
good picture?
go quickly through it. I think it becomes less significant or relevant the further you go down, but I guess it's going to be interesting either way.
Yeah, so as we said, we have Rug Delver and 4-color Snow Tide for the top place, so 15 copies each, so 17%. Third place of D&T, 13 copies at 15%. And then it drops pretty significantly. So as Julian said, if it wasn't for D&T, we'd be iffy and ahhing about this. And maybe people still will, because it is quite a lot of Snow and Delvers. But then we have Hogak, 6 copies at 6.82%. Elves, we have 5 copies, so 6%. Eswivile, then at 3 copies. Doomsday at 3, Ants at 3, Oopsal Spells at 2, Green Post at 2, Lands at 2, Turbo Depth at 2, Miracles at 2, and then the one-ofs are Urza Stompy, Tez, Sneak and Show, Moon Stompy, Greensons and the Snow, Black Red Reanimator, Pokepile, Dragon Stompy, Strifopile, Eldrazi Post, Garuda Man, I didn't expect to see that, Brown Stompy, I'm going to have to ask you what that is, Eldrazi, Painter, and Blue Red Delver. What is Brown Stompy?
That one was categorized by Anorak. I'm actually not sure myself. I think it's kind of like an updated version, like of a Stax build.
Okay. Oh wow.
But from I remember what he told me what the deck played, and it actually sounded a lot more like
Steel Stompy, maybe.
What's the deck that Max plays? The
Steel
aggro deck.
Stompy.
Stone Cold Steel Stompy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, it sounded a lot like Steel Stompy. I think it actually was Steel Stompy.
I would guess it's that. And Garuda Man. So I guess like Salvage's Bomberman with Garuda. It's pretty cool.
Exactly.
Nice. Very cool. I wouldn't have guessed I would see these 8 and 2. That's sick. So
just going back, that's part of like the Eternal Weekend experience, right? We get to see the top 8, but there are so many more people who go like 8 and 2 and just don't get to the top 8 on breakers. And
yeah, totally.
we're trying to somewhat highlight that in the videos that we're going to make. Like, we're going to have some people who didn't make the top 8 show up in the video. And I just want to once again say thank you to everybody who's been helping us with this, because this is like not only Anurag and me providing this kind of coverage. This is like really 90% community input, especially with the help with the hands. It's so much help that we, even like from you as well, you were organizing people that we could capture hands from, and like, you gave me your God account so I could like take good screenshots of all the decks without, you know, that weird yellow border that says, hey, you don't have that card, which makes it look cheap on coverage. And like that, we had so much help, and it sounds like cheesy, but we literally couldn't have done this like without the community help that we've received, like not even close.
Totally. Were there any other takeaways other than the event being like a huge success? I'm just so over the moon with how well it went. The numbers, the turnout, the decks, the like diversity. It's just so cool.
There's two things. The first thing is Wizards now has a high level legacy data set of like 5,000 to 6,000 matches, I believe. Could be wrong, but like we play. Yeah, it should be around that. And you can draw a lot of conclusions from that. So if they were ever going to make changes, like I literally have no idea whether they are or they're going to not make changes. They have probably the best data set in the history of high-level legacy, because at GPs you don't record the data, but on Magic Online you do. And that's going to be interesting whether they're going to have to say something about that.
That's a very good point. There was a lot of OCO in the 8-2 or better finishes. I mean, I guess I don't want to get into the ban discussion too much, because personally, we've had OCO ban discussions on the internet everywhere, and I'm quite tired of it. But there was a lot in the top finishes, so yeah, it's a very good point. I didn't think about the huge data set, so maybe they look at that.
The second thing is something for a different cast, as we are approaching the 2-hour mark. I just want to mention the God account thing has been incredibly popular. I've seen so many people who've literally never played Magic Online get in Magic Online and playing these, and I wonder that's something like. I think it already did well for, I think, ChenCon and a couple of events that Wizards had, and now they're doing this for Eternal Weekend. I wonder how more often we're going to see this in the future for big events. And of course, the natural tension there is because of the secondary market, because, you know, there's, for example, Card Hoarder, which probably wouldn't be super happy about seeing that kind of model implemented, because it kind of cannibalizes their rental service. So if Wizards actually wants to do something like that, maybe I don't see something like a subscription service actually becoming a thing, because that would totally break the Magic Online. Like, the Magic economy wouldn't even exist anymore at this point. But the more often they do this, the less profitable those rental services become. So, like I said, I don't want to get too deep into this. Maybe that's something for future episodes to discuss. But if you have thoughts on this, let us know in the Discord, by the way, because I think that's one of the most interesting developments for future Magic Online scenes or whatever.
I feel like the large numbers have been a combination of both people, like, just there's no barrier to entry now. It's just you pay the entry and you have all the cards. Legacy hasn't had this before. So it's a huge combination of Legacy being available to people like very easily, and no paper events. So the people that would usually be playing paper Eternal Weekends wanting to play online for the first time, and the ease of being able to do that, and also just the allure of having a God account. Like, I think a lot of people probably did sign up because it's so enticing, and then when they have it, they think, oh, I might as well play the main event, and then doesn't matter if they do well or not, they've got their values worth. So it's obviously a very successful model, and personally, I loved it. I have a subscription account as well, so I have access to all the cards whenever I want, but I still use the God account, and I played more leagues than I would definitely usually, because it's so easy when you just have it. You can just do whatever you want. So I would love to see it implemented more, but you're right, like, the secondary market does need to be paid attention to, and they need to be careful with it, because there's a lot of money in that market as well. So they need to be careful with how often they roll this out, if it works. Like, I would love to see like Grand Prix level events, 2-day level events be operated on Magic Online. Can you imagine, like, God accounts, and then I just like I bet they could get 2,000 or 3,000 people playing on 2-day events easily. It'd be insane.
It's also an insane amount of money they're making right now. So actually, let me run the numbers. So we got like 1,600. So yeah, just this Legacy Eternal Weekend, they took in about $40,000 in signups. And I mean, Wizards is a big company, and like in the grand scheme of things, $40,000 might not be a lot, but $40,000 on a single weekend, like what the fuck?
And they didn't have to put anything in this apart from the paintings, really. Like some advertising as well, of course, but realistically, like they're not giving away cash.
Sounds. I mean, if anything, that's a testament to how much people want to play in these kinds of events.
Yeah, totally.
I know in the past when there were like legacy GPs, there were sometimes, like not often, I'm not that good or important, but sometimes like pros, like grinders and stuff, they would come to me and they'd be like, hey Julian, what should I play in legacy, blah, blah, blah. And they don't know anything about legacy, but then they like work on it for like a week or two and they play it. And after the GP, I remember one specific time, like the guy came to me and he was like MPL something, I don't know. He was like, oh, I wish Wizards would allow me to play legacy more often because this is the best Magic I've ever played. And that really goes to show how awesome the format is.
So fingers crossed we get some more big legacy events online. I'd love to see that.
Awesome. Should we get into user questions here?
Yeah,
into subscriber questions.
Definitely.
Listener questions, that's the word, man.
There we go.
I'm so torn between subscribers, users, listeners, guests. Like
I like listener.
Patience when I still used to do the volunteers thing. I said, you know, when people try to book holidays in Kenya, I sometimes call them patience because just the other day I had worked and like my head was full of patience.
You're running out. You're running out of patience.
We're gonna send 5 patients.
It's when you're running out of patience as well.
Yeah. Anyway, so our very first question comes from Franco Boli from the Discord. With Eternal Weekend data now in the books and Rock Delver and 4, or I guess they also mean 5-color Snowko showing up in Force, do you think WotC will or should make a move on Oko? And that stuff afterwards, that's what you put in, right? Editorial? Or is that from him?
That's from him as well.
Oh, okay. Editorial. I think that the turnout for Eternal Weekend shows that the format is not unpleasant. Oh, totally agree. Not unpleasant yet. Like Pioneer was for a while. However, would people continue to play this format? There's always going to be a best deck. Does the repeatable playstyles of Rock and 4-color Snow make for fun Magic? I think we kind of touched on that already. I like Rock Delver being good a lot more than Snow being good. Like you mentioned, especially for the repeatable playstyle. I liked Rock Delver a lot better when it was like the tempo aggressive strategy. And I just like have this thing that bores me out to no end about 4-color and 5-color Snow decks. But yeah, that's part of me. I guess that the core question about here is, are those people who enjoyed Legacy, are they gonna last?
I think so. I mean, there's so much variation. I'm kind of the opposite to you. I don't mind Snow. I find it so much easier to attack and beat. Like whether it's fun or not is then the subjective thing. But I'm very tired of Delver. This is just a me subjective thing. I don't think it's really like too bad for the format, but I don't find the play patterns very fun because I find it, like, especially with access to so many forces now with Force of Negation, I just find it kind of stifles a lot of the fun, brewy, combo-y side of stuff. So this is just a personal thing. I'm just kind of tired of it. And Oko like takes away a lot of the plays to it, so you can have some creatures or artifacts like Ensnaring Bridge, for example, that are generally good against Delver and Chalice. I mean, not that Chalice is very fun. I don't really want it to be at the forefront of a format, but Oko does kind of shore up a lot of the weaknesses that were the usual ways to attack Delver. So with Arcanist also like bringing up the card advantage engine, it's just kind of like it's not like too OP to me, but it's just a slog in the same way that you find Snow to be a slog, I think.
Yeah, I think we can actually like answer all the questions at once because they're basically all coming down to the same thing.
True.
Walked, by the way, Walked is whom you got your Entomb status from, right?
I should give a shout out to him. Yeah, so he's written a primer as well. He is at Walked Air on Twitter, and he's written a primer for Entombs Day, and he's very active. He streams as well, twitch.tv/walkedairplane, and he's in the Discords as well. Really happy to chat and help out. Great guy. So yeah, he basically made this list that I played for Eternal Weekend. So he asks, what card needs to be banned and why is it Dreadhorde Arcanist? So yeah, I don't feel as strongly about it, but in the same way that I just described, it's every time they play a turn 2 Arcanist, I kind of just like sigh, and it's just like, here we go again.
Yeah. Franco also has another question. That's basically why I want to answer all of them the same. It is like, because for me, the answer is basically the same for all of them. Mm-hmm. And Franco is also asking, is Allosaurus Shepherd what green creature strategies need to compete against blue soup? Or is it an aggressively designed Magic card designed to sell packs? but I think it can be both. It's not an either or thing. I don't know about the selling packs thing, but it's incredibly aggressively. It's probably like the most aggressively designed I have ever printed.
Yeah.
And at the same time, also is what's needed to compete against these decks. It really changed. For example, like the Snow match is completely strategically revolutionized by the presence of Shepherd, because now we can actually go for something like natural order and try to put Changes into play, when before that was a little bit more shaky. But now that we have like 4 Thoughtseizes and 4 Shepherds, which makes it so much harder for them to counter the natural order, and also that deck naturally not having an answer to Progenitus, that's just like such a big deal. Overall, I think there's always this general idea of, okay, does something need to be banned, and if so, what? And to me, like, the biggest thing is, I know where people are coming from, and I totally agree. I just feel like if we are gonna ban a single thing, okay, here's my actual like natural thought, unfiltered. I think you either ban nothing or you ban something like 6 or 7 cards, and those 6 or 7 cards to me would be including Oko, Astrolabe, probably Veil. Like, I've not been exposed to either end of Veil too much, but from what I see and what I read and from what people I trust tell me, it's really gonna be, it's just like too busted, even though it's not that big of a presence right now. Shepherd, Plague Engineer, and then you know how I feel about Grizzlebrand, but I think that's another level deeper that would probably like go beyond what we're discussing on the podcast here. I think the format can be okay with either Oko or Uro in the metagame, as long as Astrolabe is gonna be gone. Overall, I think Uro is a much more interesting card compared to Oko, just because Oko is, I don't know, I think it's a little bit stupid.
At least you can attack Uro with graveyard stuff, and it does get swords, and it's a bit easier to Pyroblast, like when they cast it second time and stuff. I think I agree. I think Uro is kind of like a better card, actually, in these decks, but Oko creates less fun play patterns, and it's a bit harder to answer as well. So, yeah, I'm not sure. For my answer for this is like, I'm kind of okay with it, but I basically completely agree with you. I'm going to back you up. Like, you could do, I'm not sure if you make any like 1 or 2 little changes, but I think the format could be better off with like a big hammer hit and a bunch of cards, but I don't think it's very realistic for a while, at least.
Yeah. Also, I believe, for as much as I think it would be better if Oko was gone, if you make any kind of change, but you don't address Dreadhorde Arcanist, Rock Delver is gonna be so far beyond anything. Yeah. Maybe not like as like Flash levels when those kinds of decks used to dominate, but it would be incredibly strong compared to like what the rest of the format has.
I'd prefer Arcanist to go than Oko or Uro, personally. It feels more oppressive to me, but
yeah, Arcanist is. I keep saying Arcanist is the single most format-defining card, apart from like those big structural things that we have going on, like that we have like Wasteland Days, Force of Will, like that, those kind of or Fetchlands. I guess actually Fetchlands is probably the single most format-defining thing, because that actually means that we get to do a lot of things we otherwise couldn't. But beyond that, beyond the brainstorms and stuff that we're never gonna touch, I think Dreadhorde Arcanist is the single most influential cards to anyone making any decision in any deck list. And that necessarily doesn't have to be a bad thing. I just feel the snowball effect is so over-exaggerated that I wouldn't mind that card being gone. I remember when we previewed it, and I felt like, no, sorry, this is actually overpowered. And I remember, I don't know, people were like, do you really think, like, yes, this is, to me, I guess the best way to put it is, it's Snapcaster Mage every turn, because you know how one of the big things about Snapcaster Mage was not only the card advantage, but also the selection that you get. And that's why people sometimes call it like a late game demonic tutor. But and Dreadhorde Arcanist is somewhat similar in that.
You don't even need to cast the cantrip as well. You don't need to spend mana on it. That's the thing. Yeah, crazy. We're going to round out with one more question or 2 from Tom. Any predictions for Vintage Eternal Weekend coming up? And is Omnath a playable card in Legacy? So to nip the Omnath one in the bud quickly, not really, but it did place in one of the top 8s from Gwynsource in the Greens and Zenith version of Snow. So yes, it's playable in the sense that I think it's quite good in that deck, and it's probably good in like some other Greens and Zenith decks. But as like a card you'd play multiples of in a deck, probably not. I think. And any predictions for the Vintage Eternal Weekend coming up? I'm not like a vintage specialist by any means. I've started playing some leagues with Bug, like mid-range stuff, which is like in my wheelhouse of cards of decks that I like to play. 4-1 a couple of leagues now. It feels good to me. Maybe a little bit too fair. I expect PO will be played a lot. I expect there'll be a lot of Bazaar decks, and I think Bazaar decks will probably do quite well as well.
Are they?
Yeah. There's a few with like hollow ones. They have so many pitch spells, so they're all just playing like Force of Vigors and 8 Force of Wills and stuff. And then there's Doomsday, which is obviously very, very good as well. Yeah, that's as far as predictions go. I really don't know, so I'm gonna just be jumpy in. What about you?
I've been reading up on like vintage and talking to a couple of people a little bit lately, because we are also gonna do the coverage and stuff. And from what I've gathered, shop stacks are almost at an all-time low, which is, well, depends, either quite surprising or not surprising, because, you know, Wizards has banned something out of shops for, like, it's like the annual Wizards holiday tradition. We ban something out of shops. What's it gonna be this year?
But the nail in that is Force of Vigor has hurt that deck so much.
Oh, I bet.
That's the thing, yeah.
Yeah. So from what I've gathered, allegedly, like, Doomsday is the best deck, but not too many people are like feeling competent enough to play it. But then apparently there's also Underworld Breach, which is supposed to have like a big leg up in the combo mirror, because it also got access to like Pyroblast and stuff. And then there's PO, which is like always great. You know that Bryant has, I don't know, he's won like 17 challenges in like 2 hours or something. It's absolutely crazy what he's done with the deck in vintage. And that's going to be a big contender. And I thought that people were saying like Bazaar is not that good anymore. But I mean, we are always talking about like minor percentage changes here. Like when I said that Bazaar, that Shops is not as good anymore, I think the number that was provided to me was like 47% win percentage over like all the challenges in the last 2 months. Okay. That's still like numbers that can easily win a tournament.
Yeah, totally. Right? That's pretty respectable. I know Cyrus is planning to play Shops, I think. So the deck's
but also I think from what he told me, from what I read from him, he's gonna plan to play it because he doesn't really have a lot of time to prepare for anything
fair
else.
Enough. Yeah. No, fair. But I think I'm gonna play the Saturday one. I'm just gonna dive in. Probably gonna stick with Bug. We'll see. I might try. Anurag and Rugved have made an Oath Underworld Breach deck, which looks really, really strong. So they've top-aided a few challenges with it. So I'm going to try that as well. If that doesn't fit me, if I can't play it very well, then I'll be casting Leovolds. So hope they get there.
Sounds good. Yeah, I have no idea what I'm going to play. I'm probably going to, for me, Shops is not even out of the picture, even though it's, maybe I'm, okay. I was going to play Bug. Then again, like you mentioned, it's almost a little bit too much on the fair side, so I'm not too sure whether I want to be doing that. I've had a lot of success with PO like 2 years ago or something, so maybe I'm going to revisit that if that's a possibility. But at the same time, people are probably going to bring a ton of hate for PO anyway.
Yeah, that's what puts me off. Like, if I was better at Vintage, I would probably be trying to play PO, but it's going to be on everyone's radar and everyone's going to be hating it out. I prefer to be relying on... I know fair deck's a bit better, so I can... hopefully just cast Leovolds with skill.
And then there's Oath, like straight up Oath, right? That's always like the go-to when you don't know what to play at all. You can always play Oath.
As far as I can tell, there's just one player that does well with Oath these days, a Japanese player.
Let's make it 2.
Oh, yeah, true.
Anyway, you guys have no idea how late it is in Germany right now.
God, is it 2 a.m. there?
Shall we wrap it up here?
Yeah.
Or are there more questions?
No, I think that's it.
Awesome.
Yep.
So we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to jump into bed for like a couple hours. Then we're going to finish up the Eternal Weekend coverage, which, like I said, is probably going to come out early next week, depending on when Wizards decides to put it on the website. I want to give shout-outs again to all of our Patreons who are supporting us. We got, on our Eternal Witness tier, we got Valerio, we got Tommy Hinks, Trent Browers, Testicular, who just joined us, Moritz Vogel. And on our top Grizzlebrand tier, we got Victor Behanst, Bachu Butt, Scott Monroe, Kulish Alistair, Jeremy Gates, Martin Nielsen, Eugene Freeman, and Henry Kokuts. So thank you so much for your support of Everyday Eternal. You're making all of this possible. And if you want to join the community, like the ever-growing Discord of us, you can do that on patreon.com/everydayeternal and become one of our Patreons, which gives you access to the Discord. But there's also like other ways, you can support us, especially iTunes. If you go on iTunes or any kind of other review platform where you can talk about your favorite podcasts, and maybe try an everyday channel as well. If you're going to leave a review there, that's going to help us out. That's also going to help future people discover the podcast. If they put in like good legacy podcast, they want everyday channel. If you want everyday channel to be there, that makes a difference. And yeah, I think that's going to be it from us tonight. We are probably going to podcast again. Should we like do a vintage podcast? Maybe we're gonna, honestly, like let's just put that out there. If you guys want us to invite like somebody who actually knows what they're doing in vintage, we can have like a vintage themed podcast in the future
to steer us fools along in the right direction. I'd love to do that.
Oh my God, Julian, do you really want to play shops? What are you doing with your life, man?
Exactly. Do you want to get Force of Vigor to death? God, okay. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. I'm totally down for a vintage cast.
Awesome. So if you want to hear that, let us know on social media. Let us know on the Discord. And with that, we're going to call it a day. See you again next time. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Goodbye.